Hit the motherfucking Cash App, scam God. This is what you niggas want.
Something to open the eyes of the people, not to let them accept Rastafari, but just to let them see and that they can show Rastafari the respect that they deserve.
We gathering around the fire flame. 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 Some people poses, they need a frame. I am a lion, we not the same. My elder with me round the fire flame. My elder with me round the fire flame. Fire flame, fire flame, fire flame. We tryna ball like a Laker game. We beat the drum round the fire flame. The empress so bad that I gotta claim. Yo, Mai, she called me my nickname. I was born like a lion, I wasn't trained. And I told that little empress I'm hard to tame. We spark and we pass round the fire flame.
Each one teach one. Stay away from fuck niggas and take care of your moms.
Time for a change of the guard. Time for a change of the guard.
Yo, good morning. It's your brother, the Beat Scribe, Jehudi Ma'at, back again with another one. I decided this morning, we're going to do a little review of the conversation concerning the place named Kemet, not meaning black people. Now, that's not to get the argument confused that there wasn't what you consider black people today in ancient Kemet. That's not the argument. That's not what nobody's arguing, so don't let people confuse you. The argument is not that there wasn't any words in ancient Egyptian that meant that wasn't any Kem words with the consonants K and M, excuse me, that meant black. We know this for a fact. There were some Kems that meant black, and there were also Kems that meant other things. But before I get into the video, I want to play a little beat I made live yesterday on my channel. Just a few minutes of it, because I'm going to be doing a little album called Woke Tunes. So y'all be on the lookout for Woke Tunes. All right. Peace to the chat. We got in the building already, my brother Ali Dawood L. Y'all make sure y'all follow that brother on Facebook and on Instagram. A conscious black farmer. He raises chickens and has his own farm and all of that. So y'all make sure y'all sub to that brother. Oh, we got my brother Decent Tavo in the building. I ain't seen Decent Tavo in a minute. Peace, my brother. Zane Montego in the building as always. Peace, my bro. And we got Teddy Uster, my aunt Ras Neferu. Peace. Proof evidence in the building. Alright, so I'm gonna get y'all started, get it warmed up with this little beat I made live yesterday. And it's gonna be on my album called Woke Tunes, coming soon. So let's get into it.
I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme, scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme and scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? I began to scheme, scam up at the J.C. Penney's, right? Began to scheme, scam up at the J.C. Penney's.
That's funny.
Yo, hold up. Hold up, man. Make sure my Windows is working right. I don't even think it. Alright. Alright. It's mad delayed on the live. Alright, so let's get into it. That was just a little warm up to break the ice, y'all. So yeah, look out for my joint coming out, Woke Tunes, y'all. So let's get into it. And like I said, this is just to clear up some of the confusion, with this old argument going around for the past 5 years. Things tend to get lost in the sauce, so we got to go back and review sometimes, you know what I'm saying, to get things right. So that's what I'm doing here. We're going to go back and review, because people is hitting us up, hitting different people up, asking questions. They seem to be confused. And it's usually the same questions that's already been addressed. But they see somebody they respect. They see two different people arguing that they both respect and just want to get the confusion cleared up. So that's what we're doing right now. Let me move some of these windows out my way so I can get to the video. Alright, here we go. Excuse me while I find the video, y'all. Come on, bro. Alright, but so that I gotta go to my history. Move these windows out my way. Here we go. So like I said, this is just a review, y'all. So sit back and enjoy. If you got questions, I'll stay to the end, but I'm pretty sure the questions will be answered in this video. So we're just doing a quick review. And that's what I'm saying, like hold on. You got two different people that you respect that was once in the same group. I'm gonna tell the truth right now. There is no more Amenra squad. Amenra squad is dead, y'all. You don't see them going live no more together as a group. And that's causing a lot of confusion and people left stranded. It's my opinion that the Amenra squad was better off together, working together. Even if you don't agree with everything, just work together to get to the truth. And that way you don't leave people confused. But, personal feelings get in the way and things can't happen like that all the time. So, without further ado, here's the Amenra squad from
Black African Power.
2018. Let's go.
What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time. Ooh-wee, man, y'all already know what it is, man. It's God Killer in the house, man. And look, man, we got a powerful show today. And look, man, let's just get it cracking, man.
Amenra squad up, Magi archers in the building, please believe. Oh shit. If you ain't Sinetta, no time for that interview, dog. I put my shit out for niggas, I don't send it to blogs. Clan killer off the Buddha, not being discreet. One puff, this big pops and projectiles. Between the sheets. Sun run, cold game, bring your cleats. The best flow blow, Eskimo, penguin feet. Don't need no blunt to burn. You run the turf with 10 niggas on the block. That's a punt return. Ayo, Dolomite prototype soldier with the solar light. Saber and he hold it like he hold a mic. Golden ice pendants, sipping on that overpriced poltergeist spirits. Ripping at the open mic, spoke the nice lyrics like mama moved mean overnight. Golden motorbike holding on some Tron shit. That nice neon kit is on it. The king's libation with exotic liqueur. Queen's vibration like a Sada Shakur. A lot of decor, imported foreign threads, they ain't got at the store. Nubian Kush, black top pottery jaws, 39% THC, the quality pure. Old rappers try to spit ain't hot as before. It's like I'm 5 flights above, busting shots at the floor. Cats switch up their style when they ain't got it no more, cause they gotta keep their product in stores to feed their kids. See what that weed did? Yeah, yes man, agreeing on everything we said. I smell the mic like it's the love of my life. Don't get sliced and beat with the butt of the knife. Brother polite, I say I'm animalistic, cause I still be in the hood with my hand on my pistol. The Hebrews think I'm cannibalistic, E5 divination, channel the mystic, audio visionary. Let's play poetical Pictionary. Picture me burning down your missionary. Yeah, then I send you religion. That red dot on your head, that's Hindu tradition. Invisible, independent, intrinsic shit. I'll bring it all to an end with indivisible gains. Charles Xavier, getting your brain. Mental anguish or manifesting physical pain. Wizard remains to dance in the chemical rain. Breathe slow, then I'm up out of this physical plane. Got military machinery that exercise weaponized greenery. Shine at a jeopardize the scenery, son. Bruh, the beam 10 times your distance. Inclines convention. Stop rising with no trend line resistance. The parabolic breakout. I'm F-16 with the aeronautic fake out. God killer, the God killer, the God killer, the God killer. It's the God killer, the God killer. That's who it is. The God killer, the God killer. It's the God killer, the God killer, the God killer, the God killer. It's the God killer, the God killer, the God killer, the God killer. It's the God killer.
What's good, family? Black African Power. What's good? Happening? Well organized live. Defeats a disorganized truth every time. Oh, y'all know what it is, family. Look, man, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing in, get it real tight tonight. Definitely want to have a call-in show, and we want to deal with the issue that's in front of us. Holidays coming up for all those who celebrate Kwanzaa, for all those who celebrate Christmas, and for all our Black Hebrews that celebrate Hanukkah. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. But as usual, we always find ourselves in very precarious situations, right? But first, let me go ahead and introduce powerful squad. Brother Sahotep, I'm a raw squad up. What's good, bro?
Peace and blessings to everyone in the listening audience. Peace and blessings to the panel. Of course, I'm around squad. Just here to share some information and be about my business.
All right, yeah, about your business, always shaking it up with that real scholarship, using the scientific method. I feel you. Brother Wuja, what's good? I'm a raw squad up.
I'm a raw squad up. Peace to you, brother Unk, and the brother Asar Motep, and the rest of the Amara squad who will probably be making their appearance as we go through the conversation. But and peace to the audience who's watching. And I'm just, here to hopefully we can offer a little bit more clarity to those recent topics that's been floating around. So yeah, I'm just gonna chime in.
All right, yeah, I want to shout out to Shashu Mani Metanecha. Man, powerful group. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to the Mossy Clan Warriors. Man, appreciate that work. Y'all already know what it is, man. Dagger Squad, Mo, Cheryl, Garfield, y'all know what it is. Shout out to everybody that support the squad, and shout out to the squadron. That's all y'all to pay attention and follow us and put that scholarship on those people's heads. You know what I'm saying? It's always doing a little bit too much. So y'all already know what the topic is. Little lady, we're going to talk about the Almax a little bit, right? But the leading issue is, was Kemet called the Black Land, or quote unquote land of the black people, or black people?
right? We've been having that discussion. This discussion took place first back in the Cairo Symposium, 1974. So most people take the stance of Diop's. Okay? The Amenra Squad was not formed and put together to just follow Diop's or follow Dr. Ben or follow Theophile Banger. It was put together to stand on their shoulders, follow their work, and try to further it and make it better, because this is what makes strong communities. And this is why European communities are so powerful, because they figured out early on, right, that they needed to have a method for figuring things out. Because people was all over the place. You know, you go back to the age of enlightenment, where the Rosicrucians, the Masons, quote unquote Illuminati, they recognized that Africa, Egypt, placed the mother of all religion and all science and technology. So Isaac Newton recognized the Egyptians as being some of the most scientific people on earth, right? So we take that from that. We take it from the Nile Valley. There's that word, Nile Valley. But let me let Wuja, right, get in here and kind of explain what the argument is. But what we're going to do today is, right, I don't read Meta-Nature. So since I do not read Meta-Nature, I should be able to understand what the argument is and why brothers and sisters say what they're saying. So the argument should be that clear, that those who don't read Meta-Nature but understand basic rules of grammar should be able to understand what a place name is and why Kemet is called this and why it would be called that. That's what we're going to tackle today.
Hootie, get the record button ready.
Out there that what they do is, like which I said, they just confuse you, right? With a whole lot of mumble jumble. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know how y'all be posting on Facebook. So we ain't want to do that. All right. So go ahead, Wuja. I want you to, like we do, Wuja does a great job of repeating and explaining what the argument is and what the argument is not. Because what we found out is most times people only argue the things that they think they know, even if it don't got nothing to do with the whole daggone conversation. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah, and that's a good point. But before I start, just so you know, everybody was saying, be careful driving, and you use your headphones. Everybody can see you driving. So yeah,
I'm sitting back in the
yeah.
Oh,
so
I'm coming from the car today.
So yeah. So this is the thing. What happens is, in a lot of conversations that become arguments, even if it's not a formal debate or anything like that, what happens is people will lean more towards talking about what they know, regardless of the topic of the conversation. So the topic may start off as one thing, but then because a person may not be well versed or studied in that topic or issue, they will just 1 second. So a little bit. I'm gonna mute your mic and then I'll.
Oh yeah, let me mute the mic. I got
it. Okay. So, what normally happens? Excuse me. What normally happens is that you have a topic and you have an issue, and so when people jump into the topic, there's a tendency to only discuss what the person knows, regardless if it stays on the topic or not. And so what happens is people who are not well versed or studied in a topic, when they continue to talk, the topic they'll try to pull the topic over into an area of where they can keep up with the conversation and not leave it on the issue where it is. And when that happens,
tell you what, I'm gonna just shut my entire internet down. Hey, pull a plug on the internet.
Told you.
I don't know what's going on.
They're adding things into the conversation that has nothing to do with it, or they're mischaracterizing the issue, and it does nothing but confuse an audience. So it's not beneficial to do that. All right. So yeah. So that's what I was mentioning before. But so just real quickly, I'm just gonna based on that, I just want to reiterate what this issue has been all along and what it has not been. All right. So if you all can see my screen, and hopefully you all can see my screen, and also if you all could do me a favor and give me some kind of signal that you can hear us and see everything pretty clear. All right, just type in a 1 if you can hear me clear and see everything. But I'm gonna continue to talk. So this is a slide from Asar Imhotep's presentation, where he starts his presentation with the proper way of starting a presentation. You outline the scope of your topic. You set up the parameters of the conversation. So the issues and hypotheses. So he outlines that the ongoing debate since at least the 60s on the meaning of the place name Kemet. Now I underline place name because that's very, very important. All right, I put it in red. So next he says that there's primarily 2 hypotheses. Hypothesis 1 is that Kemet means black land. Hypothesis 2 is that Kemet means black people. Now 3, both claims assume that the root of the word Kemet is the word Kem, that means black in Egyptian. So at all times, this is the subject. So this is what the issue is not and has not been. All right. So number 1, does black exist as an adjective in ancient Egyptian? Okay. That's not the topic. That's not the issue. That's not in dispute. Everybody already agrees and knows that there's an adjective in the language that means black. So that's not up for dispute. Number 2, can we find cognates of the adjective black in related African languages? In other words, that particular adjective that means black in the ancient Egyptian does cognates of that word exist in related African languages? Again, that is not in dispute. That's not the argument at all. All right. 3, did the Egyptians use color terms to describe a person or a thing? Again, everyone knows that. That's not in dispute at all. Obviously, if the adjective exists as a color in the language, they used it to describe objects or things. Okay. Number 4, do classifiers, or what's called determinatives, do they have to be present for every attestation of a word? That's not at argument, or that's not at issue at all. So now what's been happening so far from the very day that Asar presented this, people, including that day, people have been arguing these 4 things. So what's going on is that the audience, who's not a direct participant in these conversations, people are getting confused because you have a group of people that are arguing these 4 things when they're not the issue or the subject at all. At all. So let me go back just real quick. Again, the issue is to address these 2 hypotheses to see if they are true. 1, does Kemet mean black land? Or 2, does Kemet mean black people? Or 3, which is not shown, does it mean something else? And that's what the bullet point 3 is pointing to. It says both claims are assuming that the root in the word Kemet is the one that means black. So if you were to summarize this, the question is, how or why did people who subscribe to hypothesis 1 or 2, why did they choose that the root of Kemet, the place name Kemet, why did they choose the meaning of black and not the other meanings?
All right, I had to step away for a minute, but I wanted to focus in on these points right here, on his questions. His first 3 questions of what the argument is not, what it is not. So let me go back to that, because we see if you file an argument today, and keep in mind this is 3 years ago, y'all. If you file the argument today, people are bringing up, rehashing these old arguments that Ujawa already, or the Amenra squad already laid the lines down, or laid it down that this is not what we're arguing about. because they were doing the straw man 3 years ago. People like Ned and Ned, brother Reggie. They were doing the straw man arguments 3 years ago. So let's go back and review, if I can. Hopefully, I don't go too far of what the argument is not, because this is key, y'all. This is what we got to pay attention to. Because when you go on somebody's live and they're talking about, they're bringing up that people said that there's no adjective can mean black. That's just a straw man argument. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing there's not a chem that means black. Nobody's arguing that the ancient Egyptians didn't use chem or black as a descriptive. So when you go on these lives and you see people saying this, you got to call them out like you call Wujahu out. You know what I'm saying? You can't grill one side and let the other side just freestyle and say what they want, whatever they want to say. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that when the other side goes live, you don't get a lot of questions. The other side don't get grilled like this side, like the riparian side gets grilled. And that has to do with the people's personalities. So I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but let's review what the argument isn't.
From the very day that Asar presented this, people, including that day, people have been arguing these 4 things. So what's going on is that the audience, who's not a direct participant in these conversations, people are getting confused because you have a group of people that are arguing these 4 things when they're not the issue or the subject at all. At all. So let me go back just real quick. Again, the issue is to address these 2 hypotheses to see if they are true. 1, does Kemet mean black land? Or 2, does Kemet mean black people? Or 3, which is not shown, does it mean something else? And that's what the bullet point 3 is pointing to. It says both claims are assuming that the root in the word Kemet is the one that means black. So if you were to summarize this, the question is, how or why did people who subscribe to hypothesis 1 or 2, why did they choose that the root of Kemet, the place name Kemet, why did they choose the meaning of black and not the other meanings? So this is where we get the assumption. There's an assumption made, and we can't address it writing that assumption. We have to clarify that assumption first. We have to turn that assumption into a fact. We have to tease it out. We have to figure that out. That's the point.
So I'm gonna chime in real quick. What Wujahu was trying to say is, or what he is saying is, that people are assuming they have the assumption that the chem that's in Kemet, the consonant cluster km means black. Scholars are assuming, and people on YouTube are assuming that, but they're not showing their work how they got to that conclusion. Only people showing how they got to that conclusion, or showing the conclusion of their work, is Asar Imhotep and Mboli, John Claude Mboli. They show their work, but everybody else is just parroting other people. That's what you got to pay attention to, y'all. In this argument, nobody's saying that Kemet or Kem there's not a word in the dictionary that means black. But the argument is, it's in the dictionary. It's in some dictionaries because they were assuming that it meant black. We want them to show the work how they got to that point. All right? That's the point of contention right there. People are assuming that the word Kem in Kemet means black without showing the work of how it got there. They will use religious synchronism about black Negro cattle and all of that stuff, and just reach for blackology to come to their conclusion. Because some people don't want to. Some people are just old school like that. You know, it's hard to kill old ideas when something new comes around. So people hang on to that old idea with their dear life. They don't want to let that go. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm talking about Brother Reggie. But let's continue.
All right. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that even our conversation here is along the lines of what the real issue is. And I wanted to make sure everybody understands that. So when you see people give cognate list of the adjective black from Egypt and in other African languages, they're off topic. Okay? No matter who it is, no matter who does it, they're off topic. All right? When you see people trying to point out the fact that a bull is black, or a particular woman is described as black, or their hair is black, or whatever the case is, that's off the topic. Because the adjective is known. Black. It exists. They have different colors. Blue, black, yellow, red, white. So that was never an issue. So again, the issue is the meaning of the place name, Kemet. All right, so I'll stop there for now for a second, and so Unc, if you want to, or Sar, because now I do want to say this, make this clear, that so our conversation is, our aim for this conversation is to use common sense, to kind of stay away from the very technical aspects of things that may convolute the conversation, because people have been off topic this entire time. So our job is to bring it back into the topic, and then also, explain it in a way to where, more people can understand it. All right. And believe me, it's going to be some common sense things. So, I'll end right there for now.
And I think this is a what they would call what do I want to use? This is based off of dealing with the internet. So now it's easy to go off topic because basically people don't have to put their conversations in writing. You know what I'm saying? So since you don't got to put your conversation in writing, things can get misconstrued. Thank goodness you got that book coming out. Thank goodness you got that grammar book coming out. Thank goodness Asar has his book coming out where these things are actually in writing. And actually, you'll find out that the work that Asar is doing is groundbreaking in that particular area. And see, we have become so, what I want to say, so non-creative that it's fear. Fear comes over us when somebody says, well, that idea that we had back then, that wasn't right based off of this. And we live in fear that some kind of way, Asar, Wu Jas, and Jetty, Dr. Mayad, Sister Naya, Smash Rockwell, y'all trying to take away, the thing that we use to defeat white people on the subject. Y'all sending us all the way back. No,
the Hootie, get the record button ready.
Y'all still hanging out in the Bronze Age. That's the truth. Okay, so basically, what real scholars do, they further the work. What scientists do, they further the work. You'll hear Saul say this all the time. When you publish a paper in science or in academia, the first thing that's going to happen, you're going to get attacked. Your work will get attacked. Your critique. You know what I'm saying? The falsification of it. All right, trying to falsify it. It's coming. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. It actually stimulates the topic. It stimulates the argument, right? And it acts like nature, and it produces growth in said subject. That's exactly what it does. Same thing happened with Charles Darwin and natural selection. You know what I'm saying? The fact that people fought over it and pushed and prodded. The same thing with the decipherment of the meta-nature. So these are the things that actually the fact that we're willing to stay stuck in the past, man, that's dangerous. And we're not willing to explore new ideas that would help prove our case. If people kind of took their time and really listened to Asar, you would find out that the argument is so tight and it actually bodes well, and it proves our case that the Nile Valley was inhabited by African people that was indigenous to that area. But y'all too busy trying to bug out, mischaracterize the argument, you know what I'm saying, going over the layman's heads, that you'll find out at the end of this conversation that the work actually puts us in a position to checkmate all people to try to act like that now valid. There's that word again. Now valid civilization. You know what I'm saying, was inhabited by indigenous people. And so we'll start off with this. And I'll ask Brother Saul, right? Brother Saul. So when we speak in terms of place names, because this is a very, very crucial point that nobody can really get by. They can't get by this, so they'll go around it. They won't get by it. They'll act like it's not there. The fact that it's a place name, what does that mean? When the name is applied, any name, a person's name, a human being's name, once it's applied to a place, what happens, Brother Saul?
Tell you what, I'm gonna just shut my entire internet down.
Right.
Hey, pull a plug on the internet.
Told you.
Look,
y'all.
I don't know what's going on. Pull a plug.
If you don't mind, for me to sidestep just a second, and I'm gonna come back to your question on the place name, because I want to address this individual by the name of Black Peace in the chat room, right?
Yeah, so go ahead.
He states towards the beginning of the chat that this is the stupidest topic ever and a distraction. Check the motive is all I'm saying. Kemet were not, and I assume he means A-N, Afro-Asiatic culture. They were an African culture. Again, this is why it's important to actually pay attention and actually respond to what people actually say. And so he goes on a little further down to say 200 plus years of European eugenics and racist scholarship to debunk, and these people pick Diop, things that make you go, So we have to address silliness like this because it's clear that people have reading comprehension. And this topic here is not going against Diop, and nobody picked on Diop. And so we got to understand that this is an academic conversation. And academics have a way of engaging each other. And so when there's a discrepancy in information, part of the process is what we call literature review. Because again, scholars actually write. There's a difference between a scholar and a YouTube reviewer and somebody who just makes arguments on Facebook and Twitter. When we as scholars attack information or critique information or even review information, we try to go to the primary source for where certain ideas emerge on paper, right? So, as Rujawu has read from my very third slide in the presentation, the first slide was just me introducing the name of the topic. The second slide was advertising for my class. The third slide is really the first slide. So my first slide in the document, in the conversation, was outlining sources of certain arguments. So we have two hypotheses. One which argues the Black land for the meaning of the word Kemet, and the other one argues for Black people. So I was giving a source for Black land, which one is James P. Allen. We could go further to Gardner and some other people. And then the other one is for Black people. The only person the person we know for a fact who originated this argument was Sheikh Diop. So as a good scholar, you cite where these ideas originate from. So it has nothing to do that I just picked Diop randomly. Diop is the source of the hypothesis that Kemet means Black people, in opposition to the argument that Kemet means Black land. If anybody actually read his document. So this idea that somebody's like picking on Diop is juvenile and silly. And it's clear that somebody didn't read the text.
We're gonna settle this once
So
and for all.
with that notion, this idea that this isn't connected to our liberation somehow is another mischaracterization and judgment. And we'll see why that is the case later on. So now let me get back on topic. Brother,
Beat him up. For the record,
Brother-
just beat him up.
yeah. So
Wait.
Every time
Hold
you
on.
open up your
Asar,
mouth,
before
you give
we
away
move
your
forward, let that be a teaching moment for everybody who's watching and listening of what not to do. Seriously, y'all. Just make sure that when you chime in on a conversation, just because the keyboard is underneath your fingertips does not mean you have to type. Okay? You have to actually read what people are saying, and you actually have to listen to what they're saying first before jumping in. Because whoever that person is, Black Peace, had he or she waited, they would realize that we do not argue that the ancient Egyptians are any kind of Afro-Asiatic community whatsoever. Number one. So to start off by accusing us of even going that way, that means that this person is not familiar with the Amenra Squad or any of its members. So I just want to make sure that everybody take a moment and just realize that's what you don't do. All right, don't do that.
Don't do that. Let me get a piece. If you've been listening to the squad, specifically looking at Brother Saul's work, he fights for, the Egyptian language starting in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And he eradicates the Afro-Asiatic aspect of it. And guess what? The whole damn community fought him on that too. So at the end of the day, it's a bunch of walking folly. And you're part of that folly there, bro. Black people. You're part of that folly right there.
just made up a whole argument that nobody even said.
Right.
That's good. And so he's just get to the part where you try to sell us that Kemet was Afro-Asiatics, and we say we don't accept. This shows this person hasn't read none of my books, hasn't paid attention to any of. Nobody here argues. We argue against vehemently Afro-Asiatic as a language phylum. And so that's what you got to understand first and foremost, that Afro-Asiatic is the label of a linguistic phylum. It is not an ethnic group or people. So, let the people who understand this have the conversation and quit trying to introduce stuff that isn't part of the conversation into the conversation. So, again, I'm going to get back to your topic. I'm sorry I had to, but this is exactly what Wujawu said at the beginning not to do. Yep. But, people just, that's like somebody saying the Egyptians was listening to Luther Vandross. Like, what does that have to do with the meaning of Kemet? That was the thing. Just make up stuff. It's just silliness. It's tiresome. Crazy. So again, let me get back to your question, brother. So you said a toponym. All it is a place name. You asked me about what a place name. It is exactly what the two components of the word means. It is the name of a place. That's it. And so I don't know how else to more simply explain that. It's just the name of a place. And so in many languages, they have morphemes to denote that the word itself is a place name. And so, we can get into that a little later.
So, all right, hold on. Freeze that. So, Wuja, give me a take on the place name. Can it be defeated? Can it mean, if it's a place name, can it now have something to do with a person? Does it mean a person? What precedence does this play? What, I'm saying? Once it's a place name, then what? Let's get that straight.
Okay, so I got to go back to Asar's pointing out the source of the two hypotheses. Remember, one hypothesis is that Kemet means black land, and the other hypothesis is Kemet means black people. Well, the fact that Kemet, and I'm showing this back on the screen again, the fact that Kemet is a place name completely eliminates hypothesis 2 right from the start. So the argument on hypothesis 2 goes out the window and is eliminated even before you begin the conversation. Because at no time does a place name refer to or describe people. And people have to understand that words are not the objects themselves. Like if I say the word elephant, the word itself is not the elephant. It's a nomen, which is Latin, that means name or noun. And so it is referring to an object. So a place name refers to places, not people. So hypothesis 2 is eliminated right at the start. The moment you say place name or toponym, which is the geographical nomenclature for it, a toponym, once you say that, it eliminates hypothesis 2. And therefore it really only leaves a discussion about hypothesis 1. So that's to answer your question. Nobody can get around that. Nobody can get around that. And you know, we've given examples. So let me just give a quick example real quick. So a lot of people are familiar or know or have driven on streets named after people, such as Martin Luther King Boulevard, Malcolm X Boulevard. Those words, Malcolm X Boulevard and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, are referring to a street and not the man, even though it's named after a man. Okay? If I say Mount Everest, it's named after a person. I believe his name was Sir George Everest. But when I say Mount Everest, I'm pointing to or referring to a mountain, not the man. All right. And I know Asar gave an example about Houston, Texas, named after Sam Houston. And so when I go on the map and I'm gonna drive to Houston or whatever, I'm not driving to the man. I'm not trying to describe the man. These places are located on maps, and you're not gonna see any pictures of people on maps. Like when you look up Georgia, which is a place name, you're not gonna see a person's or I look up Mount Everest. Where is Mount Everest? Any answer to the question where, the answer is going to be a location. Like, you know, so Unc, you're in Georgia. Go ahead.
I wanna chime in with something real quick, so the audience can have a visual, right? So I'm going to share my screen.
Hey, y'all make sure y'all hit the like button and share the show. Make sure you hit the like button and share the show so we can get this out to the people who really need it. I'm just chiming in once in a while, you know, so the Amenra squad don't copyright me. So I'm chiming in, just not playing the whole video straight through. There's really no need for me to chime in. It's self-explanatory. They explain everything very well. Kemet is a toponym. Hopefully y'all are paying attention, taking notes. This just happened 3 years ago, y'all. You see it right on the screen. Over 2,000 people saw this 3 years ago, December 14th, 2018. All right. So the people, y'all make sure y'all share this. Let me give a shout out in the chat to my brother, my Senny, Inni Herrick Calfani in the building, raising them pit bulls. My brother LA Oklahoma, aka Damo, in the building. Pure Black in the building, Diops. My brother Zane Montego, hopefully Ali Dawood Ellis still in the building. Proof Evidence, Decentavo. And my sister Tamika One. Peace, sis. Yeah, she always getting things stirred up. Keeping things exciting. So let's go. Let's keep on going. Follow along, y'all. Remember, 3-year-old conversation about the toponym commit, meaning black people. Let's go.
Everything's ready. Keep slow computer. So hold on. 1 sec.
Yeah, let me know when you get it up. So as you're getting it up, I just want to make sure everyone has that understanding that place names are called place names because they refer to places and not people. And so in order for anybody to continue that side of the argument, what they're essentially saying is that they don't believe that the word Kemet is a place name. That's essentially what they're saying. But yet, if you ask them, can you get on a plane and take a trip over to the Arab Republic of Egypt today that was known as Kemet, they'll say yes. So everyone should have this understanding that Kemet at all times was a place name, and that's the argument.
So is there a rule that would usurp that? Because we hear this complicated thing about this rule, the feminine T or the T. What is that? Does that usurp the fact that it's always going to be a name of a place?
Yeah, there's nothing that can usurp the fact that place names are place names. That's the equivalent of somebody trying to convince you that water is not wet.
So then why are they doing it? Is it that they just don't want? So, okay, let's do this. When I studied Nubia, right, we understand why Nubia was not a farming society or very a quote unquote watered place. You go that by the time when you go past the first cataract, right? It's the reason they call it a cataract because they're blockages of water, right? And it doesn't have the soft sand, you know what I'm saying, for the river to actually cut through like it did up north. You know what I'm saying? Where the Egyptians occupied that area. And so down in Nubia, that river came through, but it wasn't cutting through like that. And so, you know what I mean, their land wasn't watered like that. So they was basically a herding society. Actually, we already say it. We say the Nile Valley. But what the hell is the Nile? Does anybody know what the Nile is? It's a damn river. It's a damn river. So you'll hear Dr. Clark talk about these river societies, right? If you study the Pleistocene, I like studying the Pleistocene, right? You'll find out in that particular time span,
Hootie, get
right,
the record
all
button
the
ready.
rivers was going through all these African countries. A lot of rivers, river societies, right? These rivers were connected. Okay, right now they can do a scan of Africa and find out that, you know, if you go back in time, you'll find out that there was a lot of rivers all over the place, right? All over the place. And Brother Saul makes a excellent point when he talks about these toponyms, right? When he refers to UNESCO, we'll get into that later on, and how these toponyms, right, actually, you know what I'm saying, help the case to prove, you know, who these Nile Valley inhabitants were, you know, where their homelands were, and how these names all apply to these watered societies. So we've been saying it all along. We say Nile Valley. It's right in front of your face.
Right.
Right, right in front of your face. Go ahead, Will.
No, I was gonna say you're right. Everybody will affectionately refer to it as the Nile Valley culture or the Nile Valley civilization. You even have okay, SR. You even have organizations that will refer to themselves as the Nile Valley culture or Nile Valley civilization organization. And so what people are saying when they say that, they're saying the water civilization, because Nile is a body of water, a large river, the longest river in the world, I believe. And so you're saying a water culture, you know. So just so Asar has to pop out. He's gonna pop right back in. But let me just explain this because I want everybody has to understand this whole toponym situation so we can move past that one, and then we can start talking about untangling the confusion that is being perpetrated. All right. So now what I have on the screen is a couple of words. So I have here toponyms. And remember, toponyms are place names. And so toponyms, there are different kinds of toponyms. One type is called a hydronym. Another type is called an oronym. Hydronym is simply place names that deal with water, and oronyms are place names that deal with mountains. So
Yeah, I'm gonna just chime in real quick. This is the part where you might want to take notes, or if you got a good memory, remember this, because this really defeats the whole argument. It's like over after this right here. So make sure you know what a toponym is and the demonym and everything else up on the screen right here. So when people bring it up, you know, you good to go. You don't gotta depend on nobody else for this right here. Just toponyms. All right. So just keep that in mind. Peace.
when I said earlier Mount Everest, that will be an oronym. So when I say the Atlantic Ocean, that is a hydronym, but it's a place. You see it on the map. You can point to it on the map. The Nile River is a hydronym. Okay, so but those are types of toponyms. Kemet, or if I say America, that's a toponym. Jamaica, toponym. Mexico, toponym. Russia, toponym. Saudi Arabia, toponym. So those are all toponyms. Now, what people may be confusing is what's called an ethnonym. Ethnonyms are words that are used to refer to groups of people. Notice how I said that. These are words that are used to refer to groups of people. So
Give
you
us
have
an example in the Nile Valley.
okay. So we have two types of those. We have names of groups of people where the people themselves name themselves, and that's called an endonym.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have names where foreigners will name people. Like, for example, when Europeans have colonized, they will name people from them. They would name the people, and that would be called an exonym. And the way we would describe this as an exonymic ethnonym, which means that it's a name for a group of people, but it wasn't named by them.
Like, let me give it like Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Ethiopians. Just say Africans. Africans.
African?
Right. When we refer to everybody who live on the continent as Africans, that is an exonym.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're referring to people, but you know, it was named not from the people themselves. All right. And you'd be surprised at how many names of people that we commonly use today that are not names that were created by the people themselves.
Like Olmec.
Right. You yeah. There's a lot like Chinese, I believe.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. But so that's what an ethnonym is. Ethnonym are ethnic names that refer to ethnic groups of people. All right. So that's what that is. Now, what kind of even probably makes the situation a little bit confusing is what's called a demonym, which I have here in the middle. All right. Now, a demonym is a combination of a name that refers to people and a place. So a demonym is a word or a name of a people that's from the place where they reside or where they're from. And we use them all the time. So, for example, Jamaica. Jamaica is a toponym, but if I want to describe the people who live there, I say Jamaican. Mexico is a toponym, but when I describe the people or refer to the people, I say Mexicans, or one person, Mexican. All right. So, and we could do this for all the countries. India is a toponym. Matter of fact, here's a couple of examples. We have Jamaica is a place, toponym. When I want to refer to a person, I say Jamaican. Mexico, Mexican. America, American. Canada, Canadian. India, Indian. Russia, Russian. Australia, Australian. Africa, African. Now, these are whole continents. Europe.
Keep that for me real quick.
Okay, so Europe, we say European. Asia, we say Asian. All right, but what people have to understand is that when it comes to demonyms, notice that you have to take the toponym and then you have to do something to it as a word. You have to do something to it. And in these examples, we have to have some kind of suffix on there that turns it into what's called a relational adjective. And I don't want to get too technical because that's the whole point of this discussion is not to get technical. So all people have to understand is that in order to refer to the people or a person, you have to do something to the toponym. Okay? And so Jamaica becomes Jamaican. But go ahead.
So, so this is the problem. When everybody try to go against the rule of the place name, then y'all start to realize that anybody can get it. Jamaicans, Mexicans, Americans, Canadians, Indians, Russians, Australians, Africans, Europeans, especially Europeans.
Every time you open up your mouth, you give away your ignorance.
They studied up and take your time. So the truth is, Wujai, everybody been in checkmate from the beginning of the whole thing because they tried to go against the place name. There is no getting around that. How about that?
That's absolutely right, and that's what I've been saying all along. Right, I've been saying that all along that there never was a debate in terms of Kemet meaning black people. Now, what's interesting though is that the only people that would try to argue that, again, like I said, are people who don't realize that Kemet is a place name to begin with. Because once you realize that that's what it is, then it shuts down or eliminates the argument that it could refer to black people or refer to people at all.
Okay.
So
that's the same argument when you talk about the quote unquote when we got into the meta-nature discussion. The only people that would enter into a debate is those who didn't recognize it as being a language. Am I correct in that?
That's absolutely correct. The only people who argue today that the hieroglyphic writing system has not been deciphered are people who don't realize that the hieroglyphic writing system is an actual writing system, because you can hear it in their arguments. They'll say things like, how do you put a sound to a letter, to a picture? And when they say that, they don't realize what they're saying. But what they're saying is that I don't believe that it's a writing system. And so yes, so you're right. So that's what we have here. People don't really realize it, but they're saying when they say Kemet means black people, they're actually trying to say that Kemet is not a place name.
Facts.
They
can't prove that it's not.
And they can't. I was gonna say there's no way of getting around it. Like I said, when I used the Mount Everest example, that's like somebody saying, not believing that Mount Everest is a place. And therefore, if they win a trip to Mount Everest, let's Cancun, Mexico. Let's make it to a vacation site. So if they never believe that Cancun or Mexico is a place name, and then they win a prize or a vacation to go to Mexico, they're never going to go because they're not going to even believe that it's a place name. I mean, that's essentially what's going on. People who are arguing that, they don't realize that that's what they're saying. Because these same people, they know that Kemet is a place. You got people that take tours and go there. They point to it on the map. They'll show you, they'll show it to you on the map. So they know it's a place, but it's inconsistent logic like that is where they're arguing from, as if it's not a place.
Peace.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we were just holding it down until you came back.
Yeah, I saw what y'all were, or at least some other people. But this one I can only use Zoom on here. It just beats my resources. So I'm gonna try this again.
Okay, so yeah, let me know. But while you doing that, I know people can see my screen still. I'm showing. I'm not showing a person on here. I'm showing a satellite image of a place. You don't see a person.
Damn, I just realized this video was like 5 hours long, so I'm not gonna be here for the whole video, y'all. I don't expect y'all to everybody staying here the whole time either for 5 hours, but we're gonna try to get through this. I see my brother Kofi Pie Size TV is in the building. Peace, my brother. I miss anybody else in the building? Oh yeah, my good brother Edward Enigma 9x9. Peace to you, bro. Yes, this is a long video today. I don't expect y'all to stay through the whole thing, but if you can stay through it, it's more power to you. Let's go.
On here.
But even still, we can make a more complete argument. So along with what you're saying there. So let me know when you.
Okay, as soon as I see it coming up, so as soon as it pops up, I'll be able to share it over.
Okay.
Oh man. So okay, that's this.
Right now, it's still black though, Asar.
Okay. There you go.
I see a blank.
I see your computer screen. There you go. There you go.
I see page 22 or 42.
Yeah. This is, and so what I'm scrolling through here is my 2014 response. This is, this again, I've been dealing with this topic for a very, very long time. And there's another forum I belong to called Egypt Search and EgyptSearch.com. And so, every few years somebody resurrects the Kemet debate, right? So there was a lot of arguments in there that it was just so off and stuff to this nation. I felt I needed to make a response. So this is my response to a conversation that started on EgyptSearch.com. This isn't my official, response as it regards this word Kemet meaning black. So hold on. So I'm increase the screen just a little bit, and so when you're able to see it.
Yeah, I'm sharing it now. Everyone can see it.
Okay. Let me reduce this on the right. I don't know why it's taking up so much memory. It's the combination of Zoom and Jeff. This is why I prefer to just to go straight through the YouTube. But yeah, I understand. But anyway, so this just shows I need a new computer. So hold on one sec.
Yeah, if anybody got some high tech Apple computers trying to bring everybody to the age of Apple, send them over to the Amenra squad.
Why does it keep doing it? I don't understand.
So
but it's not a heavy picture based.
It was fine before. Now that you have it full screen, I don't know. But I guess while you're doing that, I just hope that everyone who's watching right now, though, understands why the toponym, the aspect of Kemet being a place name is important to this issue, or that it cannot be ignored. And if you notice that everyone who argues has ignored it. Everyone who's argued has ignored it.
They say you breaking the rules though. They say it's a rule being broken. I want to know what the hell that rule is. Reverend Reggie talks about this rule. This magical rule that all of a sudden takes us from being a place name to a name of a people.
Well, that's not even rule. But that's not even the argument either from the opposing side. That's not even the argument, because they don't address the toponym at all. They don't. There's nothing that was presented
Correct.
that actually addresses the fact that Kemet is a toponym. Because this is the thing. You can't do that. You can't argue. In other words, you can't bring up toponym and then continue to argue. You're gonna as Garfield as we say, you're gonna dagger yourself if you do that.
Boomerang dagger yourself.
Right. That's what's gonna happen. So it has to be avoided. I think we can see it pretty good, Zara, now.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm can you see the top? Hopefully it comes out well on the screen.
Yeah, I can see. I can see from Bellingham all the way down to the portion of the paragraph right there.
Okay. So what I wanted to highlight here is the fact that many languages have prefixes and suffixes to let you know that a particular word represents a place. It's part of the grammar itself. Now, these words, these suffixes or prefixes do not alter the meaning whatsoever of the word. They just let you know that this name is associated with a place. So I want to start off in English so that the layperson can understand how this happens. So these words here are names of places in Europe, because of course English is a European language, of course, and we brought some of that. Well, matter of fact, we brought, not we, but the Europeans brought English with them here to the United States, and thus we have taken on their nomenclature and methods for naming. So in Europe, you'll see these many different suffixes for places. So you have Ballingham, Billingham, Willingham, Ellingham. And as I argue in this text, is where ham is simply a quote unquote cognate for the word Kemet, because it's a place. You have Catfort, Chatfort, Hotfort, Otwort. You can see that these are all the same name. These are dialectical variations of the same name, but with these different suffixes for places. So Coldingham, Holdingham, Aldingham, Bellingdon, Willington, Hollington, Ellington, Binwick, Finwick, Anwick, Marlow, Farlow, Harlow. All of these are dialectical variations of the same root, but have the same suffix for place. We know another one of these roots as veal. And so in Indo-European, the suffix veal, like in Latin for villa, you have Louisville, Greenville. Like I work at a place called Concordville. It signifies a town or a farm. And what I argue here that is cognate with the Egyptian word per, which was also used as a affix for place, not only just as a word for house, household, palace, temple, field, sports field. It was also used grammatically as a place. So you can understand that there are suffixes that let you know about the place. Whatever, I don't know what these meanings are, but let's assume that just for the sake of argument, I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm just going to say it just so you can get the point. So let's assume that this word cat for the root actually means cat, right? Like as we understand it in American English, cat as a feline animal, a small feline animal. And then fourth, it would just simply be a place of cat. It wouldn't describe necessarily the people there. But this suffix here lets you know that it is a place. And so I think I've demonstrated this, so if anybody has any, saying questions regarding this, many places label their place names with affixes that denote place. So what I want to do now is to pull up another document. This is the the methods conversation that I had. And so, hopefully it'll come up without incident. So we'll let it load in a second.
So just as a reminder, for those who are not for you, I'm just to the audience though.
Okay.
One of the main reasons why we're having this discussion is so that we want everybody to understand. We want to unpack the confusion that has occurred due to others are arguing against these points. They're going off topic. So the emphasis here is that we're staying within the topic and within the question itself, and why these issues are important, and why those who argue against them avoid them altogether. Okay, so we're on the issue of a toponym and why it's avoided. So now you should be able to begin to see why toponym is never addressed by those who are arguing for hypothesis 2 that Kemet means black people. They have to completely ignore the toponym issue. But so go ahead.
I'm just trying to find the slide. In which I have this particular discussion, because I want to show that, I've been consistent with this. And so for people who don't know linguistics and who just don't know history, they start introducing a whole bunch of random arguments that have nothing to do with nothing and don't understand the process. So they was, the charge by Brother Reggie is that I never addressed the feminine T. And so what I did, I addressed the feminine T and argued that it's not a feminine T whatsoever, even if the ancient Egyptians confused it. And there's a way that we can prove it. Because remember, one of the Diop's hypothesis is that it had to do with a feminine T, and that this somehow changed or moved the root from one state to another. For example, in an adjective to a noun, meaning blacks. So this was Diop's argument.
Yeah, I gotta chime in real quick. This is a very important part of the video. This is the point of contention even today. So just witness how the brother Sar beats up brother Reggie real quick concerning the feminine T rule. Let's go. I'm gonna chime in from time to time just to break the monotony, but let's go.
And so what I'm going to show is that this is not the case at all. And so this is the slide. So for those who swear to God, I didn't address the feminine T. This is from my slide from the presentation, which has at the top, for anybody who can read English, a feminine T suffix. Yeah.
Hold on for 1 second. Is this the famous feminine T, the famous rule that Asahotep never addressed and got it wrong, that absolutely overthrows the place name?
Dahudi, get the record button ready.
In the audience. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, well, I'm showing you. Well, let me back up a little bit. When we have a dispute in science, we go through some initial steps to eliminate bias. So this presentation, which I have up now, was the third presentation that I did on this topic, dealing with method, addressing Dr. Takai Kilimanjaro. So I was showing him the issue of the methods. And so what everyone does is assume that the T is feminine and that the root of the meaning of Kemet is black. And so I don't want to deal with any assumptions. I want to go through the process of proving. And so in linguistics, one of the ways that we prove something is that we have to demonstrate via the regularity.
This is very important, so I gotta definitely chime in with this. One side, when you want to follow one side, just realize one side is demonstrating. Look what this is doing. He's demonstrating right here. He's going in different language and demonstrating with Shiluba how we get the feminine T suffix, or if it is a feminine T suffix. The other side, they go to Plutarch, stuff like Plutarch and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They, outdated scholars that agree with their assessment. That's not science. That's not how science works. You gotta eliminate, like the brother Sarge just said. You gotta hash it out. You gotta get into the mind of the other side and try to prove yourself wrong. That's what scientists do, and scientists demonstrate. A scientific mind is gonna demonstrate to show the viewers how they got to that conclusion. Okay, so pay attention to that. Pay attention to people that don't demonstrate nothing. They just parrot what other people say, or go back to an old reference to something, or to a translation that might be different from another translation. So what you're seeing is both sides don't have the tools to get to the conclusion of this question right here. Only one side actually has the tools to get to the question, to answer the question. The other side is going all around the world to try to prove their point, but they don't have the linguistics or the comparative linguistic tool in their tool belt to get to the answer, and they don't want to follow the demonstration to get to the answer because they want to keep arguing. I guess clout chasing. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I think it's personal feelings myself causing these arguments. But let's continue. But this is very important right here, y'all. One side is demonstrating, the other side is parroting.
Of sound meaning correspondences. What do I mean by that? In science, we try to eliminate chance as an explanation for the observed phenomena, because we're looking for causal relationships for the most part in science, at least in the natural science, that this causes this. Well, from previous discussions or any kind of reading of scientific literature, that correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, right? So that means that, you can have two parallel phenomena that seem to be related, but it's not. It just happens by chance that these concepts look similar. So in science, we go through the scientific method to eliminate chance as an explanation for the phenomena that we are observing. So in this scientific process is what we call the historical comparative method in linguistics. So when we're doing this type of analysis, we're looking for a regularity, meaning that it's just not once, it's just not twice that we see something. That is 3 or more times that we're seeing this pattern. We're trying to establish patterns. So once we've established a pattern for something, well, we have eliminated chance as an explanation for that which we are observing. So this is what I'm doing here. So what I'm showing here in this slide is that there are many different types of suffix T's in the ancient Egyptian language. And the only way you're able to really distinguish if the T is a suffix of the feminine or a suffix for the abstract or the suffix for the collective or the suffix for body parts, for example, or the suffix for place names. You have to do a systematic analysis and show correspondences between cognate words in a set. So what I did here was I picked these words to show, because the Chiluba language, I'm comparing the Egyptian Chikam with Chiluba, which is a Bantu language in Central Africa. I choose these two. I choose Chiluba because it cannot be argued if we find regular sound meaning correspondences between Chiluba and Egyptian that these words were borrowed by the modern Chiluba did not borrow these words from the ancient Egyptians. That the only explanation that is left is that these terms were inherited from their from a common ancestor. So remember, we're looking for causal relationships. The cause of these languages having the same words and the same grammatical morphemes is because they come from the same parent, for which the children of that parent inherited it from the mother language. So I'm hoping I'm explaining this well. So I have the morphemes highlighted here. So in Chiluba, this chi in the word chimuma, fruit orange, is cognate with the suffix t in Kemet here, an edible plant and its fruits. In Egyptian, we say mut, mother. But the cognate for it in Chiluba says chimamu, chimawu. So we know that we don't pronounce it mut as if it's M-U-T. There have vowels in between because of the vowels. So you have to learn, you have to understand a lot of things about linguistics when you come into this already. Because there's certain things that become intuitive to you the more and more you practice. So I know for a fact that this W was a labial, either a P, an M, or a B, because when they're in between two vowels, they weaken often into the W sound. And so we see this demonstration here in Chiluba. So Chimamu, Chimawu. My mother, mom, maternal aunt. Pepet, a plant. Chipupu, foliage. Minminit, herd cattle. Chimuna, domestic animal. See, in the Egyptian literature, they'll argue for this word here for herd cattle, that the T is a collective T suffix. That's not the case. This is a noun classifier, as I have here at the bottom. Class 7 nominal prefix. How this becomes plural is not because of the T, it's because of the reduplication. That's a grammar rule in Egyptian. They'll double the word to make it plural. So this, the doubling, the reduplication in this instance makes it plural. Then you have the T suffix that lets you know that this word belongs to this chi class, which includes animals and plants. So remember, there's a lot we still have to learn about Egyptian, but we know a lot about Chiluba because we had the living speakers. So if you're seeing these correspondences between these two languages, you have to conclude that this T suffix for these words are not feminine. They belong to class 7, like in Chibantu, prefixes, noun classifiers. And so one of the other tests that I did is this word jurit, wall, floor. Bua is not a cognate of the word, but it's a word in Chiluba that has the same meaning. But it keeps the same prefix as the suffix as you see for the word in Egyptian. So we're confirming on many levels that T, suffix T in Egyptian corresponds to Chi in Chiluba. So now, this Chi in Chiluba, I also know it is also used in place names or for places that or to denote a place, a space, because the Chi, besides being a class prefix for class 7, it is also a prefix for the abstract, and the abstract also doubles for place. So this is why in this next slide, you see this word, you see words for like Chiminga, city, town, urban center, Chipapu, flat surface, region, Chikulu, Jikolo, site of abandoned village, Chilamba, bridge, Chikumba, stable fence, Chidwaya, tomb, grave. The correspondence for Chi for place names and for places in Chiluba language corresponds to Ki in Kiswahili. So notice something here. I want to point this out. I didn't point this out in the original debate that Denner and I was having. That Chi for place names and the abstract is a homonym for Chi, meaning language, in Chiluba. So when we say Chiluba here, we're saying the language of Luba. So I'm saying in the Chiluba language, the language in language Luba. But this Chi is totally different from this Chi. Chiminga for town, city, urban. It's the same here when we talk about Ki Swahili. Ki Swahili is the language of Swahili. This Ki is not the same as Ki Gigi, the Ki and Ki Gigi for village. So we can see that these two related Bantu languages have the same homonym and homograph for these two different prefixes that have different functions in the language. You have that same feature in the ancient Egyptian language. So now, when we're doing these correspondences, we always like to have at minimum 3. 3 witnesses demonstrate that, you know what, from different languages, demonstrate that this is not a coincidence. So I dealt with ancient Egyptian. I dealt with Chiluba. Now I'm going to go into the Sumerian language.
Before Brother Sar gets into the Sumerian language, just want to check in with the people in the chat. Is y'all learning today? Let me get a 1 in the chat if y'all learning something. Because the Brother Sar is definitely demonstrating right now that this wasn't a chance correspondence between Chi and the T marker in ancient Egypt. So you guys are learning some key features in comparative historical linguistics right here. The Brother Sar is actually demonstrating. And that's what you get. You got one side that's demonstrating using comparative historical linguistics, and you have the other side that's going in dictionaries and giving you other people's translations and assuming things and not digging in deep and doing the work. So you guys decide who you're going to follow with this information right here. Somebody got to be wrong, somebody got to be right. But one side is demonstrating using comparative historical linguistics, the other side is going in dictionaries and stuff like that, getting other people's translations. The other side is using synchronism with religious synchronism in ancient Kemet, using Negro cows to come to their conclusion. So yeah, I see I got 1 in the chat. Immortal 9, Ether Being, That's the only person learning today. What's going on? I see I got 10 people in the chat and I got 10 likes. You can't beat that, yo. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a whole bunch of views, 100 views or 90 views in my chat right now, because I know this is the advanced class. Everybody's not going to be able to follow the advanced class. Ain't nothing wrong with that, and I'm not putting nobody down for that. But that's just the reality of it. So yeah, y'all just keep on. So I was about to go in on the Sumerian correspondences, and we're gonna learn something today. Let's go.
Sumerian was contemporary with ancient Egyptian, but is considered a language isolate all the way over there in present day Iraq. So we can't argue if we see the same features in Sumerian and Egyptian that they were borrowed from one another. They're very distant, and I don't think they interacted much at all, if anything, in ancient times. I think later on, when the Egyptians started going deeper and deeper as the policy in the New Kingdom into the Middle East, you start to get records of these people. But by this time, they are fully conquered by the Semites, the Akkadians. So those aren't even the original Sumerians who the Egyptians were interacting with in the New Kingdom. But, so with that said, just like how we see chi in place names and stuff to this nature in Chiluba, you see in the Egyptian language, words having to deal with place are suffixed by T. So jet, place, domicile, nit, city, town, or some, because there's actually a debate on how you actually write, nit or nuit, city, town in Egyptian. But in the Wartubush, they have it like this. In the modern Wartubush, Herman Grappal. So city, town, but it's suffixed by T. Sinjet, Achaia house, sacred precinct. Yahwehit, house, sanctuary, quarter of a town. Wit, household. Washert, watch house. Hwit, larger house, estate, administrative unit, temple. Chahayit, house. Shemit, stable, storehouse. So you see, and I have this highlighted for a reason, this red suffix T. So you're seeing that for places, just like how we see over here in Chiluba, they have this suffix T in Egyptian, but it's prefix chi in Chiluba. So in Sumerian, they also have a prefix of place. And we have established, there's many publications that have established the relationship between Bantu and the Sumerian language, going all the way to the 1930s. And this helps to reaffirm this. And so the key in Kiswahili is the same key that you find in Sumerian. And so it's used as a place for, remember that ki and chi are prefixes in Bantu for place, for places, place names, and the abstract. So it operates the same way in the Sumerian language. So kiduru, a disease. And to prove that this is the key for abstract and not to think of it as a place name, in Chiluba, they also, just like Egyptian, have a prefix bu, right? That is for place names and abstract. And so in Chiluba, they have a word bila. It's a verb, to be sick, suffering. This noun class prefix bu for places and abstract, once added to this root, now the word becomes disease, sickness, affection. So we see we come from verb to noun. So I hope y'all can see this. So we're saying that the same psychological process is for the same word, for the same type of word in Sumerian. It also happens in Bantu using this the Chiluba word here. Even though these are different words, duru and bila are different words. Different pronunciations for underlying a word that means the same as far as the disease is concerned. So just want to show you that there. So kidur, a stool, from the word dur, to sit. So we see the same type of process. So, but kiburu, harvest area. Keep in mind area. Kibala, rebel land. Kigiri, road path. This word giri means foot. And so with this in abstract form, it means a road or a path. Kikid, matted place. Kima, grave, a cultic place. Kikur, entrance, is another variation of the word giri, meaning foot.
Asar.
Uh-huh.
Freeze that real quick, yo. Let me do this real fast, yo. Hold on. Oh, since you say your screen, I can't show the shoes. Is that how they work? Wuja.
Yeah, if he's still sharing, it's gonna show his. It's still showing his right now.
Hold on for a minute. Let's take a commercial break. Brought to you by Negas and Abju Wear. Right here. This broadcast right here is brought to you. Let me show y'all the shoes. All right. Can y'all see the warehouse? I'm at the Negas warehouse. Y'all can see that, right? Let me see. I can turn the camera another way, right? Real quick. Shit. There you go. All right, y'all can see everything. Where we at? Bam, where the Tim's at? Hold on. Tim Bull. Right in the warehouse. Lining them up for y'all. There you go. Thought I should be able to turn my daggone camera way the other way.
Hit the motherfucking Cash App, scam God. This is what you niggas want.
Y'all can see that, right? All right. All right. Here we go. Yo, Baltimore. I know y'all in the house, right? Colder areas. Here you go. All right. All right, here you go. We got the African running shoe. Both African running shoes. All right. Then we got the Nats. Nat tennis. All right. They're here. I think more importantly, it's just the value of Black liberation. See, we talking about Black liberation, period, across the board. And so Black liberation take money, the scholarship take money. Thank goodness for Bubba Tariq that puts me in a position, you know what I'm saying, to even have time, you know what I mean, for the daggone scholarship. Because without no money, how they said, money talk and bullshit walk, y'all. All right, winter time the furry slippers. All right, y'all can see all that, right? For the Queen of Zingers, right? So all the shoes have names on them, right? They deal with important to African people. All right, and so like I say, the brand, the daggone brand is has built-in consciousness. All right, it's not hard. But look at all these shoes. This warehouse right here, man. Look, this is African accomplishment right here, y'all. Yeah.
Yeah. Since we got a commercial break going on, I say peace to my brother Chauncey Moore in the building. Peace to Goldmouth family #1 in the building. Yeah, we learning today. Let's go. After this commercial break.
Man, shout out to
for
the
y'all
people.
support.
Shout out to the people, man.
Peace to the gods in the earth.
All right.
Peace.
Go.
We need
Shout out to Black
right,
Dot Bookstore.
Okay. All right, man. We can get back to teaching. All right. We had to take that commercial break brought to you by Negas. All right. All right. Abju Way. Okay. All right. Y'all know what it is, man.
Hey.
Peace out. All right. Go ahead, Asar.
No doubt.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
Commercial break brought to you by Abju Wear. Now back to your regular scheduled program.
Next time we do that, I'm gonna do the scramble, the Soul Train scramble.
Oh, you got the box out here?
Yeah. You have to mute your mic now.
All right.
Okay. So, and I want to address a comment that I seen in the chat room by Brother Reggie. He claims that we haven't dealt with the feminine rule T till now. This is from my original presentation. How did I not deal with the feminine T when I have it on my slides? Anybody who could go back to the original conversation will see this. And so this is what I mean by people not having a background and stuff, don't recognize when certain things are being addressed.
Hold up, one second, Asar. I want to make that point clear. Can't emphasize it enough. A lot of times, people will claim things that you either didn't do, or whatever the case is, only because they don't actually realize that it's being done, and that only comes from their lack of knowledge of a particular subject. So the fact that people are accusing you of not dealing with the issue of a feminine T when you actually did just confirms the fact that they don't even recognize when you actually did it. And as you're showing it right now, which makes it even worse, because you're actually showing your slides that you had from the original conversation, and even what you're saying right now, you're actually saying it. So for people to still say it, it's really mind-boggling at this point. And see, this is what I mean by people are trying to confuse the audience, like any audience, whether it's this audience now or during a conversation, during a debate, during whatever the case is. People will try to confuse the audience intentionally or not intentionally, but that's the result. And you got knocked the fuck out, man. Always based on a lack of knowledge and not a
Gangsta for life.
And so, I just think that needs to be really, really emphasized, But when you're done, I depends on what you cover. I'm gonna address this that feminine T and concordance.
Okay. So as I stated, these are my original slides, and so anybody who wants to verify, just go to the first video, and you will see these exact same slides in the video. So I did not change. So if there's a misspelling or something, the same misspelling from the first slide is going to be in this one, because that's all it is. This is my slide from the debate. So what I'm showing here is in Sumerian the key for places, and Good, Oxbarn, whatnot. So you can do another test. So we've already established that chi corresponds to T, suffix T in Egyptian for places and for the abstract. And so now I can compare Chiluba and Sumerian for the same types of words. So we're not arguing that these words are necessarily cognates to roots. We're arguing for the grammar, the grammatical morphemes are cognate. So you see in Sumerian the word Iri for city or town. In one instance, you had ki Iri, but even this E here is really ki that has been reduced to E, as we see here in Iduru village. It's the loss of K, Iria, wasteland, loss of K here. And so in Kisiga, fence, Kishur, fence, limit. Same, not the same words, not cognates, but the same grammatical feature in Chiluba for the same underlying word, meaning stable or fence. So Chikumbi, Chidwaya, tomb, grave. Their word for grave has this key in front of it too. So this is undeniable evidence that these words are that this feature exists in all three languages, in Egyptian, Chiluba, and Sumerian. So this is how we would prove this in linguistics. And so this helps to demonstrate that it is not a feminine T. It's just a word for place. So when you're saying Kemet, you're saying the place of Kem. That's it. And so further.
Hold on, Asar.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. So you saying they was basically trying to say it was saying what now?
So we're just dealing with the morpheme. We haven't even gotten into what the word Kim means. We're just dealing with the T.
Right.
You get
So
what I'm saying?
So they was trying to say what? Did it say what?
So this is why the reason why we start with the place name is because Kemet is a place.
Every time you open up your mouth,
And a place
you give
name.
away
So
your
that's why
ignorance.
you start with that question. Well, the first question you ask is, did the ancient Egyptian language have any type of grammatical morpheme that denoted places?
Right.
Right? So you look at all of the place names and you look for patterns. So you notice that a good number of place names in Egyptian either end in T or end in W. So we go to related languages to see if they have a comparable grammatical morpheme for their place names. So that's what we just did. And so I want to show people, and I always provide my sources. You can just go to the University of Pennsylvania website for this is the standard and the biggest dictionary for Sumerian. And you can put in the word key, and it's going to give you this: place, ground, earth, land, toward, underworld, land, country, lower, down, below. That's what the word key means. It is a reduction of the word kur or kur, underworld, land, country, mountains, east wind. It's the same in Egyptian for T, suffix of place. It's a reduction of the word ter, as in territory. When you say territory, terrestrial, that's cognate with the word ter in Egyptian. We say ta. It's not ta, it's ter. Ter-mary.
Shit like that. All right. So hold on. So we recognize that it is a place name. Am I correct?
Yes, anybody denying that at this point is just, and I don't want to insult people's intelligence. It's just stupid. Right. It's the name of a place.
So hold on.
There's no arguing around that.
So they was basically trying to say, based off the feminine T, that it really wasn't a place name, although it was placed on a daggone area, land. Is that what they really was trying to say? That it wasn't
the Hootie, get the record button ready.
Are you telling me that's what they was really trying to say, Hassan?
I don't know what Reggie and them are trying to argue. I know.
No, you get my point though. Think about it.
Yeah.
If you play the feminine T rule, so you're really trying to say it's really not a place name. But although the name was, no matter what they say, the name, even if it wasn't a place name, it was placed on the daggone land.
The Hootie, get the record button ready.
That's just my point. That's my basic way of saying it, from a common sense way of seeing it. You get my point? Like no matter what, it's still placed on the place. That's the point I'm making, Asal.
Yeah, and the point I'm making is that the ancient Egyptian. So what I'm trying to show you is that you can prove it is a place name without any knowledge of the classifiers or the determinatives.
Right. Yeah.
If you didn't have the classifiers or the determinatives, you can still demonstrate that it's a toponym by the grammar, the way the derivation process given as a result of the morpheme. You get what I'm saying?
I'm in fear of my life.
You took them to.
I'm fear of getting maimed.
I understand. So I'm trying to bring the people up to a level that they can start understanding these things. So I'm trying to tell you what us as professionals do, when trying to eliminate other arguments. So so for those who argue that about the not needing saying the determinatives to make this argument, one, I say you're incorrect, but two, this is how you do it. So notice that none of them who ever tried to compare the ancient Egyptian words with any other words ever dealt with the T.
I got something
None of
for
them.
your ass in these hands.
Because they can't. Diop couldn't do it because Diop doesn't, not Diop, Wolof doesn't have the grammatical feature for place names.
Okay.
So Diop could never do that with Wolof because it doesn't exist in Wolof.
Okay.
Like I can't use Yoruba in that same place. Actually, I can. So like when you say Ile Ife, Ile is a word. It is cognate with this word Erie, city, town. So when you say Ife, Ife is the root. It really means to expand. But when you put Ile Ife, it's the place of Ife.
So, all right. So, okay. So, I mean, I think that's a very, very important breakthrough moment. And you're actually showing them the level. Really, you're showing them what professionals do. We're not talking about the YouTube scholars, right? You know, I know we ushered in the era of YouTube scholarship. We're talking about the professionals. You know what I'm saying? The people that really do this, right? That we're really in competition with. You feel me? And this is very, very important to get that. So everybody up the game. You don't got to read the Metanetia, right? It's just some things you need to understand. Basic grammar, right? And just pay attention. If you're trying to debate, you know what I'm saying, instead of just listening, it's just bananas. And that's our problem. We will debate instead of learning first, then debate.
Dahudi, get the record button ready.
Yeah, it's pathetic that, you know, people won't take the time to understand. They think that that even if you are able to read glyphs, reading glyphs does not lay upon you by osmosis linguistic competence. So just because I can read English words doesn't mean I know about English linguistics, the linguistics of English. Because we don't learn English that way.
Well, hold up, pause right there. Pause right there. That's a very, very good important point, because one excusable argument as a pushback is that people will say, well, I know someone from such and such place, and they say X, Y, and Z. And that's the equivalent of somebody from a foreign country saying the same thing about American. Just because they know an American who speaks English doesn't mean that by default we are masters or competent or proficient in English linguistics, the grammatical structure and the ins and out of English, although we speak it. And we prove it every day, all day. Because if anybody who understands language acquisition in terms of your mother tongue and then your second or more language acquisition, if you do a study on that, a lot of the things that we learn about our mother tongue is what do you call it? It's brought about through a natural process. We don't even know how to describe it, but we do it through observation and learning it and living within the environment. But it doesn't mean that we can explain it or even know the ins and outs of it. And it may sound counterintuitive or weird, but that's just it. And we could prove it right now or later if we have time. I could just ask anybody in the audience to give me the definition of a word, and then y'all gonna crack open your dictionaries and then you're gonna read dictionary definition of a word. But then I can ask you a set of follow-up questions that will prove convincingly that you really don't know what a word actually is. You know, it's a elusive concept. But still, I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because I see people like, well, I got my Facebook friend from such and such place, and they say, and so they default to that, and we just got to be careful of that.
So I just want to go through this next step fairly quickly because I have to go soon. So after we've established scientifically what the T is in the place name for Kemet, now we can go into what the root possibly is. And so before we can establish and confirm what the root is, we use the same languages that we use to establish the grammatical morpheme, the correspondences between the grammatical morpheme, and see if we find a similar pattern with the root. So I use the same languages: Sumerian, Shikam, or Egyptian, and Chiluba. So you'll see that I'm going to use as the base language Egyptian. So we're just looking at correspondences for the KM sequence, because that's the underlying word in which we're trying to argue. We're trying to find the meaning for. So Kim, the word for prophet, corresponds to Sumerian dun, prophet. And I have highlighted here the consonants that correspond. So in these words, in the initial position in consonant 1, Sumerian D corresponds to Egyptian K and corresponds to Chiluba K in the first consonant position. The second consonant position, N, corresponds to M, and for this word, S. In the second word for coal, do, this Kim pile of burning coals is actually a ghost entry. And so it's being debated if it even exists in the language. And so, so Jikala corresponds to coal and Makala charcoal, and from Chiluba. So it's the same correspondence, D, K, and then B over here, and then L. And so a word of, see, and you have to know the languages intimately. And so in the Sumerian, B's and M's interchange. The same thing happens in Egyptian, and the same thing happens in Chiluba. And so what happens is B's and M's interchange, but also M's and N. And so M will correspond with N, and then N will correspond with L or R. And so you'll find all of these corresponding with each other, in the language, but they all correspond with M in the second position in Egyptian. And then we see the same thing over here in Chiluba. It has that same kind of diversification that you see in Sumerian. So there's another correspondence, and that is D with T, which makes perfect sense because K, when palatalized, can become T. And so T is the voiceless variant of D. And so what this helps to prove to us is that K became T, and the sound split in Sumerian. So they have T and D. And they'll also are allophones of each other. They'll also interchange. So, but they both come from K, which is retained in Egyptian and Chiluba. So, of course, we'll find the same type of correspondences with KM in Egyptian, now with TR or TL in Sumerian. And the T can become S, as we see here in Chiluba. But for the most part, they're all Ks, and then Ls, Ms, and or M, all what we call homoorganic sounds. So this till to end, Kim to end, Inkum end finish, till to be old, long lasting, Sakim to grow old, to be wise, Kulu, ancient, old, elder, primordial, very old. And there's a word kola I should have put here, meaning to grow old, you know. Till to be completed, Kim, Kumba to be completed, till cry, clamor, Kim complain, Kala to shout, screaming as someone does. And so I said that M and N also corresponds in Egyptian. You see this here, call, complain, Kim, and then Kenny. So this is a pattern here. We've established the so-called sound laws. So now, after we've done this step, you have to do this step first. We have to ask, well, in Sumerian, for example, what word in the language has both the same grammatical morpheme in the language that corresponds with T, the suffix T in Egyptian for place name and the abstract, and has a corresponding consonant sequence that we matched up here. So what we're saying here is that KM is going to correspond to either TR-TL or DR-DL in the language. So when I showed this slide again, after I've already proven these are some of the correspondences that we established. DK, Sumerian D, Egyptian K, and Chiluba K. Sumerian R, Egyptian M. Same thing with L and M. So, of course, these are allophones of each other. So, of course, they will correspond to the same thing in Egyptian. So, whatever word is cognate with Kemet, it would either have to have a TL corresponding sequence or TR or a DL or DR correspondence. So the extra added argument was, okay, so now we have to include the classifier in Egyptian. So the dominant forms of Kemet has this N36 canal or water glyph, N23, the irrigated land glyph, and the O49, which is another form of the irrigated land glyph, dealing with water. So all of them have to deal with wetness and water. So what word in Sumerian equals this word Kemet in Egyptian? That is this word Kiduru. And the root of it means damp ground, irrigable land. This corresponds with this hieroglyph here, which means irrigatable land. So this is what we see, the irrigated land glyph, Kemet. It corresponds to Kiduru. And so the root of Kiduru comes from this word here, duru, to be soft, to be wet, irrigated, damp, fresh. So this informs us that the root Kim has to deal with wet, irrigated, damp, and fresh.
Hold on 1 minute. Hold on.
We did the same.
Freeze. We've came to a very, very, I call it a crucible. You know what I'm saying? A crucible is the coming together of ideas. Let me add this idea in what you just said. And I spoke of it earlier. Everybody named Mother to think they know Kemet. And they got it from John Henry Clark. He called them great river societies. Now, I like to ask you and Wuja, is the Nile a river or what? Yes or no? Simple yes or no will do. Yes or no?
Most definitely. The Nile is a river.
River. Now, in rivers, is it water?
No, it's diamonds. No, of course it's water.
Water, right?
Right.
Right. So when Brother Saw gives the meaning of it, what's the meaning, Brother Saw? Let's hear that again, please, sir.
It's just damp ground, irrigable land.
Now, rivers, water, irrigable land, how is that not making sense?
Because now, but look.
Not getting that.
Now you have what I see in the chat room, and now they're trying to argue this. So now that they can't get around my argument, so now what they're trying to say is, well, the water turns the soil darker, so now they still correspond. They just can't let go that Kemet doesn't mean black.
Hold on for a minute. Watch this. We got them. So, how many seasons is it in Kemet, Wuja? How many seasons did they have, brother?
Oh man, so let's deal with that.
Let's deal with that.
So there are 3 seasons in Kemet that consist of 4 months each. So it's 12 months in total for a year, and there are 4 months per season, so it's 3 seasons. So so when people say that the flooding of the water turns the soil fertile or whatnot, the flooding, which is called akhet in the language, only happens for 1 season. So no matter what season they choose that the result of that flooding takes place in, which will be the next season, Peret, it only lasts for 1/3 of the year.
Facts.
And not all of the kingdom was this wet area that they are associating with it being dark or black.
Just the areas near the the daggone river, and it's not the water that's dark, it's the soot in the daggone water. Because it was the soot that kind of clogged up the delta.
But see, this is the thing to see. So remember, tonight we're trying to keep it in common sense.
Yeah, we want to keep it in common sense.
Right. So the problem people are having is that if you have on a yellow shirt that's dry, and then your yellow shirt gets wet, it's going to be a darker yellow. If you have on a blue shirt that's dry, it's going to be one shade of blue while it's dry, and then when it gets wet, it's going to be a darker shade of blue. Anybody who washes clothes will bear witness to this. When your clothes are dry, they have a certain color to them, and when they're wet, you pull them out, they all look darker than they are. So the question becomes, and this is where the classifiers or determinatives come into play. First of all, it was wrongly claimed that the word describes or qualifies the determinative when it's the other way around. All right, that's number one. So the determinatives or classifiers help to determine the lexical root or the root meaning of the word. So the focus on the toponym for Kemet is wetness and not color. Wetness and not color, because we know that I don't know, Asar, if you have it, I know you do have it in one of your slides, where the toponym Kemet is determined by the irrigation water channel. So and notice, see, what I want to do, people, yeah, there it is right there. So Asar has on his screen the last glyph in that top word is the irrigated water channel, and the last glyph on the second word is also a water canal. So you got a channel, as they say, and a canal. So the focus, remember, determinatives or classifiers help shape the focus or the lexical, what we call the lexical root or lexical morpheme of the word. It shapes the meaning. So the focus is on water, not color. And so what happens, and people have to realize this, just pay attention to everybody who argues against this. They will have to, first of all, they skip over toponym. They totally ignore toponym. Like they're what, Neo in the Matrix, and just dodging that one, right? But then when it comes even to this question, they try to diminish the importance of the determinatives. Notice that all the arguments, they try to diminish it. They say, oh, well, determinatives are not important, it don't matter, and stuff like that. So I want everybody to peep that. I want everybody to notice that the scribes, for over 3,000 years, they felt it was important enough to include them. But all of a sudden,
it's not important to you, but to the ancient Egyptians, it was.
Yeah, for 3,000 years, they used determinatives, but all of a sudden in 2018, determinatives are not important.
Don't matter. Yeah,
they don't matter.
It's just being lazy, and they just don't want to give up. They think that the blackness of ancient Egypt rests on the name Kemet, and that's not how this is. That's what the problem is. They think that take away Kemet, the meaning of Kemet meaning black, that you take away their evidence for the blackness of Kemet. The evidence of the blackness of Kemet does not rest on the meaning of Kemet, and so it never has, and it never will. But as I've shown before, this actually proves the African origin of the Egyptians, what I've demonstrated here, because this name Kemet is all over Africa as a place name, but you don't find this in Arabia.
Nor Asia.
Shit like that. So just Asia in general.
Yep.
And so it's telling you that the Egyptians followed their cousins and ancestors in naming places. That's what these things mean. Remember what I said beforehand. In science, we're looking for causal relationships. The reason why, for example, you see in Egyptian suffix T, in Sumerian suffix ki, and Chiluba prefix and I said suffix, but I meant prefix chi, and Chiluba chi, is because all of these are inherited from the same mother language and culture that gave birth to all three of these languages. So all of these forms, these roots, Kemet, this root Kim, Duru, and Kanda, in Chiluba, Sumerian, and Middle Egyptian, are all the inheritance. The reason why they correspond is because there's a causal relationship. The cause being these being derivative languages, dialects of the mother tongue. That's why these three correspond this way. And so, the problem is with the layperson is they don't understand science. And because they don't understand science, and that science is something that you do, people personify science as if it is a thing or a person that makes decisions. Science is something that human beings do to discover or to bring about knowledge, with the emphasis of eliminating chance and bias from their analysis. They're trying to eliminate error in their analysis. So it's more refined than if a layperson tried to, discover something, because they don't care about bias. They don't care about eliminating error in their analysis. That's why a scientist is more rigorous than a layperson.
So, Sir, I get exactly where you're coming from. The demonstration and the methods clearly shows you have separated yourself using the method, scientific method, right, as a scientist, to actually break down that. And I think it's a point. Remember I said it was a crucible? So the idea of, saying an irrigated land, the fact that it's actually a river society, the fact that the beginning of the Nile goes all the way down to Lake Victoria, in Africa, Uganda, right? The fact that Dr. Ben talked about the stool or the actual institution of quote unquote the secret society, he said they don't even go to Kemet, they go to Uganda, because that's the real goddamn Egypt, right there in Uganda. He talked to these things, right? When you come to UNESCO, I said this earlier, you have a slide there. You can find it where the European actually talks about the place names. You know what I'm saying? And actually how these place names is all in the app. You read the daggone thing. Like, it's flying over people's heads. And I get it, because the layman wouldn't understand that. So the layman has to take his time, right, and listen to shows like this and just rewind it. You know what I'm saying? Like Asar could have stopped that is a place name, but he showed you why it's a place name, how it's a place name, can be nothing else but a place name. Wuja said, wait a minute, it's a place name because they use it as a place name. Like it's also the fact that they're arguing. You said it earlier, 2 days ago. We're really dealing with the creationists against evolution. It's that conversation again. We're really dealing with people who have made Diop's Jesus Christ, the sacred cow that can never have anything incomplete, that everything he's touched is complete and is finished. And y'all better not add on to it, because that's the sacred cow Diop. Y'all really crippling us to the point where we can no longer learn, because we have learned everything there is to learn. Diop's won everything, and that's it. Dr. Ben knows everything, that's it. So we'll just read their books and stop there. I learned a long time ago from you, Asar, you was like, wait a minute. Dr. Ben's books, all that's good, but it's a lot way more heavier work than that. The books were heavy for our community. I get it, when you was coming into consciousness. But there's levels to this shit, like we like to say all the time. Levels to it. So we're not insulting anyone's intelligence. We're simply saying, stop being the walking shenanigans. If you don't know, you don't know, and it's okay. Sit back, right, and learn. That's why we was created. Asar's not writing a 600-page daggone book to because he's trying to be a show-off and defeats Diop's. Wuja's not writing Egyptian grammar book because he's being a show-off. He didn't write the guide, you know what I'm saying, learn the meta nature, you know what I'm saying, the beginner's guide, the meta nature. He didn't write that because he's trying to be funny and showing off. You know what I'm saying? You know, Shashumani meta nature, they didn't write the meta nature, you know what I'm saying, decipherment book because they was being funny. They did it because they was walking in the footsteps of the giants. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I didn't take the time to offer the book I wrote just because I wanted to show how slick I could be. I did it so that we could leave materials, and I learned this from Asar. God damn, leave something for the next generation. That's why they doing it. And y'all throw tomatoes at us. But that's okay, we're not mad at you. Because we're asleep and we're waking us up. And you know how it is when you wake up? Man, you don't want nobody to bother you. I get it, man. Y'all not going to get around this. Y'all not going to get around evolution. Y'all not going to get around the decipherment. Y'all not going to get around Kemet not being black. You know what I'm saying? Y'all not going to get around that. Because guess what? It's in writing. That's why you're not going to get around it. And it's forever. So figure out what side of history you want to be on. Those who just talk shit on YouTube or those who publish works so that the next generation can challenge those works and add to it. This is why we're here. There's a new protocol. We will no longer be arguing with just anybody. It takes up too much time. People are dealing with trick'emship, fool'emship, hollership, and downright ridiculous ship, putting it up against scientific method. Man, we taking the time out of our busy lives because we love the people. Do you know how hard it is to write a damn book? And for people to overturn that book with a YouTube video or Facebook post and think they did something? Come on, man. This is not why we're here, man. We're here to learn, right? And for that gentleman, Black P, talking about revolution, ain't nothing more revolutionary than having a damn truth, bro.
Oh, can I say something real quick? Just real quick. Then after this, I gotta go. So I just want to highlight that, you know, you take this information and you move it beyond simply academic. And so again, Diop has a work called Black Africa, at least in English. Black Africa, the economic and cultural basis for a federated state. And in this, he's talking about, you know, a United States of Africa and creating a single culture and utilizing a single language so that Africa can redeem itself and be able to defend itself and sustain itself against foreign powers. And part of that discussion, like when he's on page 38, he's talking about hydraulic energy. And, you know, understanding Kemet in terms of agriculture and using the power of the river to sustain their society, you understand this from scientific terms. So you're dealing with agriculture on one part. Now you can utilize that same spirit and energy in the creation of actual energy. So anybody who's been to Africa knows that in certain parts, energy is not consistent. Like when you go to Nigeria and Ghana and certain places, big places have to use generators, you know what I'm saying, for energy. And so one of the things that Diop was talking about was using the rivers to create energy. And so along the Nile, along the Zaire River, along the Niger River, and your societies and stuff around that. So it allows you to have a different type of conversation. If you just say Kemet means black people, the conversation ends there. Because that's like yeah, we know that. But now you're talking about sustaining, you know, saying a society, a modern society. What is the thing that you have to have in order to do that? Water. It is the basis of your society. Without a large supply of drinking water, you can't grow crops. You can't drink. Your people can't survive. So this is an issue of nation building. And so what they're trying to say to ancient Egyptians is that this is so important to us that we're going to name the society after it. That's the value of how important the river is to us in the floodplains. And so I wanted to highlight this aspect as well. So you one of the ones who use the language that we need to get away from those who are still in the Stone Age, and we in the space age now. And so this is where Diop was trying to get us. And so on page 86, first and foremost, he talks about the first sentence in this text. He says, basic research will always remain essentially a university concern. Meaning, the people that's going to actually do research are scholars on the university level. And so what I'm trying to do is bridge this gap. The problem is that a lot of people on YouTube know me from YouTube, but think that I'm a YouTube scholar. They think that I just sit at home, randomly and read a couple of texts and then just come up on YouTube and have a conversation about some stuff that I just read. I don't do that at all. I'm a researcher at the university level. I present at conferences. I publish in publications. This is what I do. So when of course the layperson isn't going to understand this because they don't understand this basic thing that Diop says here on page 86, that basic research will always remain essentially a university concern because lay people are concerned with research and research methods. They're not trying to publish and bring about new knowledge. Let's look at all the people who's in opposition of this, who's come forward thus far. What publications do they have? Some will even name people that they knew all these years, but don't have any publications themselves, having demonstrated that they are on a university level can generate and bring about new knowledge. So they argue about non-insignificant stuff because they don't know how to stay focused because they've never had practice in terms of publishing, presenting in front of colleagues and having your stuff scrutinized. That's a whole different world than us getting on Facebook and having a debate in 140 characters or less on Twitter. A whole different world. And so, Diop was about the establishment of institutions. So he says here, we wish to see the African nation everyone is talking about these days adapt itself to the needs of the modern technical world. We have from its very beginnings to provide those technical institutes that guarantee the life of modern nation. We should forthwith create the following institutions: an institute of nuclear chemistry and physics, to be split into two later if need be, an electronics institute, an aeronautics institute. I don't know why an aeronautics and an astronautics institutes, aka the space age, brother D, an institute of applied chemistry for industry and agriculture, organic synthesis, metallurgy, mineral chemical industry, and so on. An institute of tropical agronomy and biochemistry, soil studies, fertilizers, extraction of vegetable products, with a view to finding industrial or pharmaceutical applications for certain flora. F, an institute of health, specialized in the study of tropical diseases. All of these having to deal with a study, a good majority of these have to deal with the study of land and agriculture and plants and water, physics, all the stuff that the ancient Egyptians were doing. They're telling you what their care and concern was. And so y'all reduced the ancient Egyptians so that they're resorted to their skin color. Like that mattered to the ancient Egyptians who were in power and who weren't under the guise of any other racist, society. They're in power. They hold their own land. They're the determinators of their own destiny, and they worried about skin color. It's silly.
So, okay. So, hey, Wuja,
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yep. Oh, I think Asar has to roll out.
Got
So
that skin color map?
I don't have it handy.
You can't grab it?
But
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
show y'all something. Huh?
No, go ahead, keep talking. I'll see if I could find
Show
one
y'all
real
something.
quick.
So Asar Hotep, right? A scholar on YouTube, right? Remember, I brought in the generation of YouTube scholars, and y'all have messed all that up, right? I ushered in that, right? Okay, trust me, YouTube scholars, all right? We're doing the best we could do. Feel me? But we recognize one thing about a true YouTube scholar. He recognized he was a damn YouTube scholar. He didn't thought he was, you know what I'm saying, just a goddamn show enough. I'm gonna go ahead and run up in a university and get no. Let me show you how I had enough sense to realize that I got brothers and sisters around me. You know what I'm saying, like Dr. Oyama, Brother Son Jetty, Smash Rock Wells, Asar, Wuja, Sister Naya. You know what I'm saying? Got brothers and sisters around me that were used to navigating through the damn universities. It's a difference there. But watch this. We have reduced the Egyptians to their goddamn skin color, which is bananas.
The Hootie, get the record button ready.
That wasn't to the skin color map, which I like to use regularly. Right? You ain't find it yet, Wuja?
I got it. Let me share it. I put it up.
Show y'all how crazy. I'm gonna show you how crazy we are, right? I'm thinking it was important back in the 70s, right, to glorify our skin color, right? It was important for politically, right, to kind of make that stance.
So I got it up.
So we got this skin map right here, right? And if you know Africa a little bit, you should pretty much know where the Nile Valley is, right? It's in that zone. The Nile Valley River is 4,100 miles long. The deeper you go into inner Africa is on the equator. It's where you're dark. I see you pointing right there where you see the dark people. What you will notice is go over there near Palestine, Wuja. All right, over there near Palestine. These people have brown skin, whether you like it or not. Saudi Arabia. These people have brown skin, whether you like it or not. Brown skin. Even when you end up going in parts of Italy where the Romans, where the Greeks are, you see they also have a brown skin. So why in the hell would a group of brown to dark skinned people name themselves black people when ain't nothing but black people around them? That's the most ridiculous thing you could like, Dion.
The Hootie, get the record button ready.
We had to do. He understood that because he knew if he was going to be a scientist, you would absolutely do this. You would absolutely be right here doing what we're doing right now. He knew it. The same way we know it. We know that the younger generation is going to come behind us and up the goddamn ante on a scholarship. We know it. It's not a secret what scientists do. Scientists give credit. Even white scientists, Newton, so Isaac Newton, give credit to the Egyptians. Scientists, it's what scientists do. Like they give credit for where they get their shit from. It's just part of the damn code. But it doesn't make sense. The whole fucking planet is predominantly brown. The whole ancient world, the old world, man, it was predominantly brown, the dark-skinned people. It would make no sense.
I'm going in. Y'all hear, brother? I'm going in, y'all. Confidently, strongly. That's my bro, Aunt, going all the way in. Kemet cannot mean black people. Yeah, I heard brother Reggie is live right now playing brother Asar talking at the ASCAP conference, huh? I'm sure brother Reggie knows this video is playing right now. That's called damage control right there. Yeah, he's one of the leaders of the Trickum ship going on right now. So don't follow no personalities, follow the info, y'all. Don't let that damage control. While they're doing damage control, make sure you ask some real good, important questions for them. Grill them like I grill this side.
Uja says this very eloquently. He says that, man, the Egyptians painted themselves brown. show those pictures of those Egyptians, brother Wuja. You got them pictures? So we see based off the skin, man,
I'm gonna pull them up.
most people is brown any damn way. The black people ain't nothing but black people. Look at Mesoamerica, black people. Everywhere is Australia, black people. So what black people was you talking about when you said the black people? You wouldn't have known. You just bananas. So Wujai said blacker than them.
Shit like that. Shit like that. Shit like that. Shit like that.
In Sudan, darker than them. Why would you call yourself the black people when there's a people blacker than you below you?
All right, so let me share a couple of things then. Since you brought that up, I think it's a good time to share it real quick because I want to get back to this feminine T excuse of a non-rule that keeps being brought up because people don't want to deal with the toponym issue and all the other stuff. I'm gonna get back to that, but since you brought this up, I think it's a good chance to share this real quick. Now remember, we're dealing with common sense. Yeah, Sar had to leave. So we're dealing with common sense here. All right, so now here is the logic, okay? So the logic is that, as Asar said and as you just said, that the color of the skin of the people was way more important and a more top priority than the actual nation building aspect of a sovereign political society, kingdom, polity, and state that relied on the river for its survival and access to water. So they said, forget about all that stuff. We're not going to name our country regarding any of that. We're going to name our country after the skin color of our people. So with that being the logic, which is really illogical, so I'm going to show a couple of these pictures. Now, what I want everybody to do who is watching, because I don't have time to show a lot of pictures. Now I have literally like thousands of pictures of ancient Egyptian artwork and everything like that. But what I want what I want everybody to do is to Google ancient Egyptian art, right? Google it and just look through all the artwork and pictures. And what I want you to pay attention to is the pigment color that's used for Egyptian men. Okay? And I want you to step back and look at your screen and shuffle through the different pictures. It's going to be a whole bunch of search results. I want you to look at the dominant color that's used. But anyway, I'm going to show you all a couple of them. So here we have the 4th dynasty. The color, Uncle, I'm gonna have to mute your mic a little bit.
All right, let me move it out.
Okay, so this is a picture of the 4th dynasty. Now, mind you, I have thousands of pictures, but I'm only gonna show a few because I'm gonna make a point here. So the 4th dynasty, this is the statue of Yaiib. All right, he is depicted in the pigmentation of a reddish brown. Some people call this color tawny. All right, if you look up tawny, you'll see that it's described as a reddish, a shade of red. All right, reddish brown. Okay, so this is 4th dynasty. Here is another picture from the 5th dynasty tomb of Princess Yedut, Sheshat. Notice that this person is depicted in a reddish brown. All the people in the tomb are depicted reddish brown. And I'm going to go through these kind of quick. Here is another picture of a 5th dynasty tomb, Mastaba Chi, reddish brown. Now, mind you, I'm paying attention to the men because the women is a different subject when it comes to the color depiction for women. All right, that's a whole nother topic. And remember, we're staying on topic. Okay, so look at the other pictures. It's the same tomb. The men here are reddish brown. What color is their hair? What color is their hair? Now, I don't want you to look at you driving, so I'll let everybody know that the hair color on these particular men is black. All right. This cattle, this bull or this cow that's in front of this figure is black. All right.
Right.
This is not the skin color of these people that are being depicted. So we have here in a scene 2 colors, black and this reddish brown that they use for themselves all the time. All right. So I'm just pointing out something, making a point. So here's a comparison. Same general color. Now, mind you, all of this artwork is very, very old. So some of these colors have slightly faded and so on and so forth because you know, we're in 2018 now, and this stuff is very, very old. Here's another picture. 6th Dynasty, Meruruka. Look at the color, the pigment chosen by the scribes. Okay, it's a reddish brown. All right. Here's another tomb from the 6th Dynasty. All the people in this tomb are painted reddish brown. Reddish brown, reddish brown. All right.
You got the Nubians?
I'm getting to that. So here's a six.
Hey,
here's
look,
a six.
hold on. When you get your Nubians, then I want you to show the Hiscos. That's gonna kill their ass. That's gonna checkmate them all.
All right. So this is the 6th Dynasty tomb. Again, reddish brown, brown color. We're seeing a common theme here. So here's another tomb, 12th Dynasty. So now I'm skipping. I'm coming up because like I said, I could show 1,000.
Yeah, that's very interesting indeed. Hotep to my sister Emiket in the building. Sinetti. I'm about to end this in a minute. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Plus, you guys can go back and see the original video on the Amenra Squad channel. What used to be the Amenra Squad. Things is different nowadays. I'm gonna play a little bit more, then I'm ease up out of here. Much love to everybody that came through. Stuck with me the whole time, yo. Y'all was real patient. And y'all going, if y'all stay through this whole video, y'all going places, because y'all definitely learned something. I learned something. I seen this already. So let's keep going.
We don't have time for it. So here is the 12th Dynasty. Hold up, let me mute you, Mike. Okay, 12th Dynasty. So we have reddish brown. All right, this tomb of the two brothers. Everybody here is reddish brown. Now notice now what the ancient Remich did, or the scribes, when they want to show a lot of people that are standing close to each other, when they want to show a multitude of people, they will alternate the shades. So you have both of these are reddish brown, but one of them is slightly lighter reddish brown, and this one a little darker reddish brown, etc., etc. You see how it's alternating there, but the common theme is that it's reddish brown. It's not black. All right. So let's go show a couple more. Now we're going to go to the 18th Dynasty. 18th Dynasty. Everybody here is reddish brown. All right. Reddish brown all day long. 20th Dynasty. Reddish brown. Okay. So we're still walking up. Now, the next picture I show you is going to be a depiction that the ancient Egyptians themselves depicted of their southern neighbors compared to themselves. So here is what people like to call the Nubians. They're always depicted in a darker pigment than the ancient Egyptians themselves. Ancient Egyptians is a reddish brown. The people, their neighbors south of them, are depicted darker, be it black or a very, very dark reddish brown. All right. But the point here is that it's a lot darker. All right. So the point that I am getting at now, let me show something else. People have to realize. Oh, I can't hear you. You muted.
I said, show the Benny Hahn tomb with the Hiscos.
But hold up. I want to make this point here.
All right, go ahead.
Here are the Nubians paying tribute to ancient Kemet. All right.
Dark brown.
Okay.
Black.
So now, what I want everybody to understand is that the scribes had standards, just like the glyphs. This is why over pretty much all of the 3,000 years that Kemet existed, the glyphs that are carved pretty much look the same. All right. There are standards that are created. And so the standard color, the national color that they use for the pigmentation of Egyptian men is that reddish brown. All right. So, and see, I'm here in that background.
All right.
Okay. So the standard color is a reddish brown. All right. Now, I'm going to show you this picture here to prove, to back up what I'm saying as far as the national color is a reddish brown. All right. So, I want you to tell me Can you see this picture here?
Yep.
Imagine, I know you're driving, so matter of fact, I don't want to
Go ahead.
contribute.
I got a big ass screen. Go ahead.
All right. So this picture here is a picture of the seated figure here is the deity Amenra. He's painted blue.
Oh shit.
Okay, and the picture, the figure behind him is Khonsu. All right. Now, they're both facing a king. Now, notice that this king is painted in the standard traditional reddish brown pigment that I just showed, right?
Yep.
Okay, now how do we know that what I said is true when I said it is a national standard? Okay, this particular king here, what king would you think this is? I know it's like a lot of kings you can mention, but just throw one out there.
Ramses.
Okay, Ramses. All right, now I'm sure everybody in the audience, if you can't read the glyphs, you're not gonna know, but you're gonna think this is an Egyptian king. But guess who this is?
Go for it.
This is Ptolemy.
Killed him.
This is the king Ptolemy. Now everyone knows that Ptolemy is a Greco-Roman individual. All right? Now how we know this is Ptolemy because we can see in the cartouche here, or the shinu, we see his name, Ptolemaeus. His name is Ptolemaeus Merni Ptah Jet Unk. So he's the king Ptolemaeus, beloved of Ptah. That's what his name means. His name is right there in the shinu. Okay.
Damn, that hurt the black island just real bad right there. That was a gut check to Reggie, brother Reggie. Well, I know you was hurt when you saw this. Ouch. So I see we got my brother VC Realm in the chat. Peace to you. Much love and respect. Blue Devil in the building. Peace to you. Plagiarism is at an all-time high. I'm the one that pointed this out. Okay, Blue Devil. So you got plagiarized. Where's the published work at so I can read it? Look up on this. See how you gonna hash all this out long before anybody else did. Keep in mind this video was 3 years ago. Keep that in mind. Masanet Emiket Aku Kinshai says, I like how for all the new videos popping up from the Johnny Come Latelys, all you got to do is refer back to videos from the archives of the Shemsu Haru team. No extra work needed. That's how you do it. Exactly. You don't got to do extra crazy work lifting heavy weights and all of that stuff. It's already there. It's already published. Information could get published in the video also. Just keep that in mind. This is 3 years old, y'all. Let's keep it popping. And Blue Devil, I want to see your published work, man. Let me know where I can find your published work at on this subject. Let's go.
Okay. So we know that Ptolemy is a Greco-Roman, and so from the Greco-Ptolemaic era, and people will refer to him as being European, but yet this particular king is depicted in the reddish brown pigmentation as the rest of the kings, which shows that this is a national standard of depiction. All right. Here's another picture of Ptolemaeus again. All right. This time he's standing in front of the deity Men. Okay. So reddish brown again. All right. Now, the point that I'm making, both of these pictures are Ptolemaeus. Okay. The one on the left and then the one in front of Men. Okay. These are two different scenes, a part of the same wall. All right. Now, the point I'm making is that this particular color that is used to depict the men of ancient Kemet is reddish brown. So now I'm using common sense here. If they wanted to name the country after their skin color and people think that name means black, then why would they choose to depict themselves other than black as a national color? All right, so I hope people get that logic. If they wanted to name this country after their skin color, why would they artfully and visibly and visually depict themselves a color other than black? And why would they depict their southern neighbors darker than them, but yet don't call their country south of them Kemet?
Yeah. That's an important point again. That people are not going to be able to get around right here. But I've heard an explanation of people trying to get around this right here by saying that Chem can mean light black, brown, and all that. Chem can mean brown too, just darker than another color. So they were trying to say that anybody with brown skin was a Negro, I guess. And all that's doing is bringing the modern racial standards back into ancient times. That's all that is right there. So, but that's the explanation I hear. That they were dark skinned black, dark skinned Chem and light skinned Chem. So what we're doing is bringing the whole European racial construct back into ancient times instead of letting the scribes speak for themselves, which we like to do as the session. But let's go.
Okay, so that's the logic, and I think we Unc got bumped off as well. So all right, so I'm the lone stander here, lone person standing here. So let me do this real quick while I hopefully I have everybody's attention who's watching. All right, I want to show you all something, but I hope you all understand that point. That's just some common sense logic right there. Why would you name your country after your skin color, but 99.9% of the time you represent yourself visually and artistically as something other than that color, as a reddish brown as opposed to black? Okay? So think about that. But what I want to show you all is this here. Because I wanted, like I said, I wanted to deal with this so-called feminine T rule or excuse that people are using just to sidestep the real issue. All right, so I'm going to share something. And I'm going to try to make this as plain as I possibly can. All right. So first and foremost, I want everybody to understand.
Yeah, I'm going to let this play for the grammarians out there. Because this is very important, and we see people trying to get around this, but they can't. People trying to learn grammar on the fly, using dictionaries, but they can't. It's impossible. So please pay important attention to this, and so you can debunk the naysayers when they try to bring out their faulty grammar on the subject. This is very important. I just wanted to point that out.
That what we're calling nouns today and what we call adjectives today, both of those things are really two types of nouns. All right. And so what has happened is our word noun in English actually comes from the Latin word nomen, as I'm showing on the screen. Okay. Nomen means name or noun. And so there have always been two types of nomen or nouns. One is called in Latin substantivum, and the other one is called adjectivum. All right. In English, we say substantive for substantivum, and for adjectivum, we say adjective. So both substantives and adjectives are both two types of nouns. All right. People have to really understand that. But what has happened in English is that we have changed the label of a substantive and we call it noun.
Dang.
We call a substantive noun now, and we no longer realize. Yes.
Hold on, man. How the hell you get away from the picture, yo?
No, you had bumped out. I'm moving on to this feminine T.
Don't move on. Hold on for you kill him with the
brother Arp, you interrupting the wrong damn
Go
time,
back
yo.
to the picture
Damn.
because they worth 1,000 words, yo. Go back to the Hyksos, man.
I don't even have I don't have a picture of the Hyksos.
You could just type in Benny Hahn or Hiscos. It's gonna pop right up like you just did.
Yeah, but see, my point is that there's a national color used, and that national color for that long was not the color black. And
Facts.
so
You killed them with that.
And so if they want to name their national their nation black, why
Then they got the wrong color.
why in the world would they depict themselves visually and artistically other than black?
Hold on. Say that again real slow.
I'm saying the whole point of me showing the pictures was to bring to people's attention that there was a standard color that was used all throughout Egypt's lifetime.
And it wasn't black.
And it was not black. It was
The
a
Hootie,
reddish
get the
brown.
record button ready.
Okay. and if they're gonna name their nation, their country, their kingdom after their skin color that to mean black, why in the world would they depict themselves for over 3,000 years, 99.9% of the time, why would they depict themselves outside or other than black? To the point where they depict their southern neighbors as
black,
darker than them and black.
They just a bunch of misfit, ignorant ass people.
So that was the point. So I don't even have to bring up the Beni Hassan or the
No. All right, that was my point. My point is I wanted to show the pictures of their neighbors that was in Egypt on regular occurrences.
Okay, so let me do this then.
Yeah, do the feminine. Go ahead. Because that's a separate. I got you. Separate them. Go ahead. I got you.
Yeah, I want to show this because these, you know, I'm trying to really unpack the confusion that people are having.
The feminine T.
That people are having.
Power T.
Yeah.
The power T.
All right, so this is what's happening, and you all are going to be able to tell who knows the grammar of this language and who doesn't, and who's just calling off terms as a distraction.
You writing a grammar book, ain't you, brother? When that grammar book gonna be out? I'm gonna say this again. He's writing a grammar book. Grammar.
Yeah, it's gonna be out in the early, hopefully early first, within the first 3 months of next year. So, all right. So now I'm what I'm explaining here on the screen is that first of all, people have to understand that what we're calling nouns today are really should be called substantives. Both substantives and adjectives are two types of nouns. So they've always been. And so it's only people who, now the average person doesn't even have to realize this or even deal with this. But when we get into these kinds of conversations, this is something that you'll come to know and find out that it's always been this way. All right. So when people jump into it and find this out, they may be shocked, and then it becomes a big deal. All right. So, so what I have here on the screen, and I'll just read it. In Latin, the word nomen is name or noun.
Hold on, I gotta correct myself because I see I made a mistake on my video I did a few days, or yesterday. I think I did it. Was it 2 days ago? The video I did with Capo Chichi versus John Claude Mboli. I said that nouns and adjectives come up under substantives, but I see I didn't have my notes handy, so I messed that up. But adjectives and noun and substantives come under nouns. Nomen is a Latin word for noun, so substantives and adjectives come under the noun, and not, like I said in my other video, nouns and adjectives don't come under substantives. So I'm just correcting myself right here. Let's go.
Where we get our word noun. There has always been two types of nouns, substantives and adjectives. In English, we call substantives nouns, and by doing this, we hide the fact that nouns and adjectives are the same, except adjectives denote an entity plus a property, whereas a noun denotes an entity only. So that's critical for people to understand. A substantive, or what we call noun today, refers to entities. Okay? They say persons, places, or things. An adjective refers to a property as well as an entity at the same time. That's why they call them in Latin adjective. If you look up the Latin prefix ad here, it means to add on, to add near. And so what they did, they added on the property of the entity. So these are words that denote or refer to properties of entities and the entities themselves at the same time. Whereas a noun or a substantive, as we should call it, refers to only an entity. So these are two types of the same thing. Always has been. Okay? There's nothing surprising there whatsoever. All right, so now let's get to this feminine business here. So what I have on the screen now is a visual of grammatical gender, what we call grammatical.
Yes, just making sure everybody gets to his last slide. The substantives and the adjectives are both under nouns. So the car would be a noun under substantive, and the brown car would be the adjective, the entity plus property. Just so y'all get that last slide. Car is a noun. Brown car is also a noun. Let's go.
Gender. So when we're dealing with languages, when we say feminine or masculine and masculine, we're talking about grammatical gender. All right. So in ancient Egyptian, the language of ancient Egypt, the language has two genders, masculine or feminine. So every single substantive, or like what most people like to call nouns, every single one of them has to be one or the other. Okay? Masculine, feminine. There's no such thing as a genderless noun in ancient Egyptian, or genderless substantive as we call it. So think of the nouns in ancient Egypt language as coins. So I have here two sides of a coin. One side is masculine, one side is feminine. If you were to toss up a coin, it's got to land on one or the other. So think of that as the nouns or substantives in the language. They're one or the other. But what does it mean though? What is the point of it? So what we have is called a system of agreement. So grammatical gender, the function of grammatical gender is to act as a trigger for other words in sentences to also be of one or the other genders. And that trigger and target, when words change to agree with each other, is called a system of agreement or a system of concordance. All right. So I have some examples here to show you. But before I even discuss these examples, let me show you an example in English, or say an example in English where you understand what I mean. In English, I can say that I am going to the store. It would be improper for me to say I is going to the store. Okay? But it would be proper for me to say he is going to the store, or she is going to the store. But I can't say I is going to the store. I have to change the is to am. I am going to the store. And if I want to use they, which is third person plural, I have to say they are going to the store. So notice that I have to change the verb am, is, and are accordingly to the subject. So if it's I, which is first person singular, I have to use am. If it's third person, he or she, I have to use is. If it's third person plural, I have to use are. Okay? That's called concordance. That's called agreement. But that's a verb subject agreement. All right? That's very basic. Now, we learned that in school. Now, a lot of us have been in school a long time ago, and we may forget, but that's what we learned in school. All right? So that's very simple. Now back to this example I have on the screen. The system of concordance in ancient Egyptian. Now, the gender of a word is what sets up this system of agreement in Egyptian. It doesn't change the meaning of a word. It's just there to function, to set up the system of agreement. So I have an example. We have the word majah, which means book. Okay, these three words in this column are substantives, or what like people like to call nouns. All right. Here we have a masculine noun or substantive, majah. It means book. The adjective here, if I want to describe this book, I put the word dasher here. This word dasher means red. So majat being masculine means that this word dasher has to be masculine because it has to agree. This demonstrative, which is a word that means this, the word pen means this. So I'm saying this red book. So all three of these words are masculine. Why? Because the substantive is masculine. This word here, the substantive, is the trigger that causes the other words that's related to it in the sentence to be also masculine. That's the purpose of grammatical gender. It only triggers the other words to be in the feminine or in the masculine because they have to agree. It doesn't change the word, as we'll see. So now we're going to go to a feminine form. This is a feminine form of the same word, majat. Now it's feminine. So the adjective also has to be feminine. Now we have desheret, which is red book, still red book. Both of these are red book. One is masculine form and the other is feminine form. The demonstrative changes to a feminine. It's no longer pen, which is the masculine way of saying this. Now it's a feminine way of saying this, which is 10. Majat desheret 10, which is this red book. That's feminine. All right. So now this particular word is also feminine, amat, which means mud or arable soil. All right. As a noun or substantive. Therefore, because it's feminine, the adjective black, Kim, you have to put a T on there to match. So we have amet or amat, Kemet, 10. This black soil, or this black arable soil, this black mud. Okay? That's the purpose of grammatical gender, to set up an agreement system within the sentences of the language. We call it syntactic, a syntactic phenomenon. All right? So here's some more examples. So here's the example of what people are trying to use when they talk about adjectives being nouns. As I showed you, adjectives has always been nouns. Adjectives don't become nouns. They are nouns. Substantives don't become nouns. They are nouns. That has to sink in everybody's head. Adjectives and substantives are both nouns. We just don't realize that because we've changed this label that hides that fact. So come back to this example. We have the word desher up top.
Shit
means
like that.
red.
Shit like that. Shit like
Majat
that.
means book. All right. So if I want to say this book is red, notice that this color red, this adjective is in the predicate of the sentence. The book is red. The subject of the sentence is the book. The predicate is red. Therefore, the adjective is in the predicate. So we refer to this kind of adjective as a predicative or predicative adjective. Why? Because it's in the predicate. Now, in the language, predicative adjectives come first. That's why you see dasher first. Dasher majat. But pay attention. Dasher is masculine, whereas majat is feminine. So in these examples, we don't have agreement. So when it comes to predicative adjectives, there is no agreement. Okay? I want everybody to understand that. This kind of adjective used this way, there is no agreement. It doesn't have to agree with the noun or substantive that is modifying. Okay? Now we're going to move to another example. Now we have what's called an attributive adjective. These are adjectives that are not in the predicate. So the translation is different. Now I have majat desheret. I have to make this adjective feminine to match the gender of this one. Why? Because the substantive is the trigger. The adjective is the target. So I have to make this feminine now. And the translation changed. Now it means the red book. There is no predicate. This is a phrase now. This over here is a sentence. The one in the middle is a phrase. The red book. Majat Desheret. All right. Now, Desheret, on its own, when used by itself, functions as a substantive or functions as a noun. And this is why you hear people now who were unfamiliar with this. Now they make a big deal out of the fact that adjectives can become nouns, and here's why. Remember what I said. Adjectives denote or refer to a property and an entity at the same time. So when they're used independently, they show just that. So the property here is red. The entity is represented by this T. Now, we don't know what kind of entity it is, so the translation becomes the red one or the red something. We don't know what that something is, but we know it's an entity. It's a substantive. So we have the property and the entity, the red one. All right? That's when it's used by itself. So I just wanted to explain that to people so that you're not confused when people toss around these terms that the feminine T rule, or when they start talking about all adjectives can be nouns. Now, when they say all adjectives can be nouns, that's like saying even in the glyphs that all the glyphs can be such and such. That's a distraction because all adjectives are nouns.
Are nouns.
As I said. And here's the fourth example at the bottom.
Hold on, Wuja, can you please say that one more time? Because they kill me with that. Can you please say that one? All adjectives are what? Are nouns.
All adjectives are nouns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, remember, adjectivum is a subtype of nomen, which is nouns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what they mean to say, and this is how you know when people really know the grammar and know what they're talking about versus people who they don't really know. And I encourage people to just learn, just relax and learn. So what they're really talking about is that adjectives can function as substantives. Because like I said, in this example here, it's not functioning as a substantive in the first example. In the second one, it's not functioning as a substantive. In this third one, it is, because it exists independently. It becomes a substantive. Desheret, the red one. Now, this last example is the same as this middle example, but it's just analyzed differently. So this is how we do it. So Majat Desheret can be two substantives side by side. We refer to this as a positive construction. And all a positive means is that two things are juxtaposed next to each other. That's all it means. It means putting something side by side. Okay? And because these are side by side, we can translate this as Majat, meaning the book, and then Desheret, the red one. So notice that I'm combining the substantive form of Desheret with the substantive of Majat. Two substantives side by side. The book, namely the red one. So if I say it as an attributed adjective, I have to say it this way. I have to say the red book. But if I'm going to use it as a substantive, the translation would change. The book, namely the red one. So we have two substantives here.
So Wuja, real fast.
Yes.
So basically, you have people who don't even understand English grammar, don't even understand grammar. So if you don't have a basic working knowledge of grammar, how do you expect people to understand Egyptian grammar? You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, I mean, if you understand English grammar, then you can get to understand Egyptian grammar. It's grammar.
Yes, yes. So so I don't know if are you still driving?
Yeah, I'm going to get to the spot. Go ahead though.
Okay, so I'm gonna use you as a test subject for this right here. All right,
All right.
because I can't interact with the people right now. All right, so now this is gonna. So I hope everybody got what I just said. So let me just summarize that again. So remember, the whole thing about this feminine T, when they try to invoke the feminine T rule, the fact that they're saying feminine, all they're saying is one of two genders in the language. And remember, the purpose of grammatical gender is simply to be a trigger for the agreement with all the other words related to it. So the substantive being masculine or feminine simply means it's going to trigger either adjectives, demonstratives, or participles or particles in the other parts of the sentence if they exist in the same sentence. They're going to have to match, and that system of matching forms a system of agreement. Now, hold up. So before I move on, let me show this slide here, okay? And I'm going to show you all what I mean by that. So in this particular sentence here, we have, I'm going to read the translation. He came, he caused the nation of Kemet to live. He dispelled its afflictions. So I'm using this to explain a phenomenon called anaphora, all right? And so what this is that we have a substantive or a noun, all right, Kemet, and then we have a pronoun that's used to refer back to it, and we call that anaphoric. So let me just read this. So this S suffix here, this folded cloth, this S suffix here, is a pronominal suffix on the word shenenu. You see shenenu S. And I'm hearing some noise there.
All right, good.
So we have shenenu S. The S on here is a pronominal suffix, and it's a third person, feminine, and singular pronoun. And it anaphorically refers back to its antecedent, which is the word Kemet. All right, and agrees with it in gender and number. So because this pronoun is feminine and singular, this antecedent, which is the word Kemet, is feminine and singular. Okay, it's not plural. If it was plural, this would be sin, but it's S. All right. So I want to point that out. This is what I'm talking about when a system of agreement. Okay. So for example, here's an English example. If I say, Unc is driving down the street, he needs to be careful while driving. Again, Unc is driving down the street. He needs to be careful while driving. Notice that I used the name Unc at first, and then I used the pronoun he. That pronoun he anaphorically refers back to the word Unc. If I started off out the blue and just said he needs to drive carefully, you would have no idea who I'm talking about. All you know is that it's a male. That's it. You won't know who. Okay? So that's the concept of anaphorically referring back to something. And it has to agree. I can't say Unc is driving down the street. She needs to drive carefully. That would be incorrect. It has to agree in gender and number. All right. And that's just an English example. All right. So I wanted that to be clear. So Unc, so I don't know if you could see this because I want to use you as a test subject.
All right, go ahead. I'm currently shooting. Go ahead.
Okay, so now what I'm gonna show is what Asar, because Asar had to leave, so I'm gonna elaborate on what Asar was saying about the T in the word Kemet. Okay, people feel, but I'm gonna have to mute you though. I guess. Wow, you doing what you doing? So people are focusing on the feminine T. All right. people that are doing that, they don't understand that there exists something called a portmanteau, morphemes. And what that simply means is that it's a combination of two or more morphemes into one. And so I'm showing this example, and so that's why I'm want to use you as a test subject to make sure it's understood. All right. So in the glyphs here, I'm showing the word sejm in F. Okay. This is all one word. Okay. You with me?
Yeah.
So all right. So this word right here is sejm in F. All one word. Okay. And it means he heard. But I want to tell you that the word sejm by itself means to hear. In the end, this water ripple here represents past tense. So it changes the sejm to hear to the past tense of it, heard. Okay? So now the F on the end represents the pronoun he. So altogether it means he heard. But this is one word, it means he heard. Okay. So now these first two glyphs represent the word sejm, which is here. The N represents the past tense. And that's why you see it right here in the brackets, okay? Past tense. Now, this one glyph right here, this one glyph, the horn viper, this one glyph right here represents three things at one time. It represents third person, it represents masculine, and it represents singular, all at the same time. Therefore, it's called a portmanteau morph. So this one glyph, this one morph, is representing three morphemes. Third person, masculine, and singular at the same time. If this was third person, feminine, and singular, it would be S. It'd be a folded cloth here. It'd be sejm in S. She heard. You follow that so far? I think trying to use.
You had me muted. Shit. How the hell you had me muted, remember?
Yeah, I'm saying, but I'm asking now. I mean, I know I had you muted, but I'm asking you, do you follow?
No, come back again. Let me put my glasses on.
All right.
Again.
That's okay. That's why I asked you, because I would have waited until you get settled, because I don't want to repeat myself anymore.
Oh hell, Luke, as crazy as people is, you need to repeat that. Shit, you doing yourself a justice, huh?
Because right. I want to use you as the test subject, because the whole thing is that you right now you're representing the people, the audience, okay? And so when you get it, everybody's gonna get it.
All right, but go. Why the screen? Why it ain't on the whole screen? Did I hit the wrong button or something?
Maybe so, because it's showing full. It's showing on mine full and to the audience.
Hide my video. Okay. Damn, what did I do, man? Damn. Because I ain't big enough.
All right, they're working with some technical difficulties. We're going to cut this short right here. Hopefully y'all enjoy learning the grammar. And much love to everybody that stayed through this advanced class on YouTube. You know, it's no hooping and hollering and screaming. No hollership, as Ankh says, the brother Ankh says. No trick'emship, none of that stuff. Just pure teaching. Things for you to digest and arm yourselves against the pseudo blackologists running around out here. It's a lot of them. So you got to be careful. You need to arm yourself with this information so they can't fool you. So I'm going to leave it there. If you need to watch this video in its entirety, go to Amenra Squad YouTube channel and you'll see the whole video there. All right. We had a long video today. I'll be coming back trying to be more consistent with these to try to quiet all that noise and confusion going on running around. Because the people confusing people, they working hard. So we got to try to, you know what I'm saying, work hard to unconfuse people. So I'm going to take y'all out with my little beat I made yesterday. Be on the lookout for what is it? Woke Tunes coming soon. Woke Tunes, y'all. Be on the lookout for it. Come on.
I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme and scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme and scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme and scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme and scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's. I began to scheme, scam up at the JC Penney's.
That's
You guys want to go see a dead body? Y'all want to see a dead body? Yeah. Damn. I feel like a dog died. Look like Freddy Krueger got him. He stink. That's how they smell after a while. I wonder why I take the people saw him and pick them up.